What's up, guys? It's Modern Craftsman Monday.
Monday.
We got Gary Kelly from across the pond. He is hanging out super late.
Dude, how long have you been waiting to say that?
Across
Probably
the pond?
all
Yeah, dude,
night.
he's been thinking about that for 2.5 hours.
Oh, that just rolled off my tongue, man.
I know.
That's how I flow.
Man.
We were going to talk about the difference between the U.S. and UK. Instead, we talked about work-life balance again.
Because there's really no point. U.S.
Yeah.
is just better.
Yeah, it's U.S. USA.
We talk about soccer.
No.
The best British rock bands.
We talk about linguistic characteristics.
Fries. Oh no, that's French.
That's French.
No, either way,
I was gonna say toast.
we dig into some serious work-life balance topics, which we know you guys love. So give this one a listen. Before we get into it, guys, this podcast is brought to you by Duration Moulding and Millwork, proud new sponsor of the Modern Craftsman, manufactured exclusively from Boral True Exterior Trim. Duration Moulding and Millwork products combine the benefits of wood, PVC, and cement-based options without the drawbacks and nagging issues associated with each of those materials. If you're already familiar with Boral True Exterior Trim boards or siding, then you know how polyash performs. Duration builds on Boral's polyash offerings and essentially delivers whatever you'd like in a polyash profile that aren't standardly available from Boral themselves, like standard moldings and beveled sidings, semi-custom moldings and sidings, or completely custom moldings and sidings, and millwork to fill a specific need or match existing conditions. With Duration, it's all about fast and efficient installation, high performance, and architecturally accurate and long-lasting beauty. Try Duration on your next project and make your neighbors jealous.
Do you know what's nice? Having a company like this to partner with rather than like Swiffer or Post-it notes. You know?
Something that we can truly back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I feel like is what we've kind of,
that's what
been
we
the
pushed
MO
for.
from the get-go.
Yeah.
But it's
Why
nice.
it's taken 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, Swiffer, feel free to put something on the table.
Oh, I could totally use a new Swiffer. But if you guys want more information, durationmillwork.com, DURATIONMillwork.com.
Look at the office.
Oh, it hasn't changed.
That's pretty.
It's cool. It's new to each guest, but it's the same to everyone else.
I was just thinking that. I was like, everyone probably is like, wow, you got some work done. It's like,
I did. No, I did sand. My shoulders are burning. I sanded off all the joints, all the every nail HUD, everything. I filled them all. Sanded the whole ceiling this weekend.
Nice job.
You know,
John, I don't know if you remember, in my mudroom I did the V group with reclaim beams.
Yeah.
One of the beams is sanded.
See?
And my wife walked in, she goes, why'd you sand that? I'm like, doesn't it look good? She goes, no. I'm like, oh.
Thanks,
so that's
babe.
literally why I stopped.
That's awesome. Oh, man. Every day I feel like I just want to give up on this business.
Bro,
No way.
tell me about it.
Everyone,
Dude, Gary, everyone thinks that. I swear, I go
Oh
through
yeah.
that
Oh, definitely.
at least once a
days.
week. Like this past month, I was basically writing out my exit plan, which was basically shut my phone off and just like, that's it. And then today I feel great. So now
it's such an up and down.
So, do you think you find that because have you got things on personally, like busy personal lives at the minute? I find that when if I'm just like free to concentrate on work, I'm like, it's pretty cool. Like I can deal with it. But as soon as I take on things personally, like jobs at home, that's when I start having like, oh mate, that's a killer.
Well, you just crushed it at home. The backyard looks awesome.
Cheers, bud.
personal projects, they stress me out only because they get rushed because I'm trying to go back to work. What stresses me out, and I think what's the hardest thing, is my expectation with myself and my team, and the fact that I'm always trying to make, like, I'm never satisfied, ever. And it's just I constantly battle with that, and it's like and I have a hard time letting shit slide. So I'm always up against it, and when specifically, and this probably sounds like I'm talking specifically about like the execution, but more so from the process in which we operate our company. That is by far like the shit that I dread. And setting, like, I know we talk about it, John, like the SOPs and the like just having this system in place where I can stop thinking about it to not entirely, like I want to be involved in it, but I don't want someone to come to me and be like, hey, how do you want me to write this change order? Like, I just want that to be like standard. I want everyone to write the change order the same exact way.
But the problem I have is, man, you can write all this stuff out and then people just don't follow it or they do their own thing. I just think it's that chain of command. Like, they should.
It goes back to what you said. I need a GM.
No, I don't know. I've been getting a lot of flack because I sound so cranky and old on podcasts.
I don't think you're cranky. You're kind of old, but you're not cranky.
No, I guess.
It's honest.
Well, there's people that people expect us to have guests on here and we're supposed to pump their tires.
Nope.
And it's like, no, dude, I'm not in the business for that. Maybe 10 years ago, again, I wasn't so crass and direct when I first got in the business. It's been years of like, just get to the butt and tell me what's going on. Like, give me the real deal. I just feel like, the hardest part, Nick, like we're doing it right now. We have Trevor and John working together, and this is new. Like we had this project Monday. It was Monday. What's today? No, it was last week. Last week when I took that selfie of all of us at one job site, we got a text from the client, and they're like, "Hey, we made it to Canada. You guys can start tomorrow. See you in 6 weeks." And we're like, all right, I guess we're starting the project tomorrow. So the goal with that project was to put, Trevor as the lead and John would oversee him, not myself or Ben, which is it's usually Trevor and John have been below Ben and myself. So it's direct contact. There's not a buffer. So now it's like, you get the question like, what do I do with Trevor? It's like, all right, you just do what I do with you. You check in, make sure things are going in to build a trend for updates because his clients in Canada, and then, check in with them, make sure things are going right and the way you see it. And then if something has to get up the flagpole, then get it to me. Mm-hmm. But ideally, I shouldn't have to deal with any of that stuff. So we're trying to test the waters. I guess, Nick, it's like execution when you're a carpenter. It's never going to be perfect. You're always going to fine tune it.
I don't want it to be perfect.
But like, I also don't feel like when you were a carpenter and you brought on Chris or whoever it was, would you have written a process for putting on Joyce?
No.
Would you have been like, hey, we got to crown all of them? You just keep crowning it until they started crowning their own Joyce.
Yes, but
this is my problem with it.
No, I know, but I think it's just my delivery. It's not necessarily that I want to write this out. I just want it to be I want the process to be there. I hate the fact that for me, like when I build a spreadsheet for something, I've delegated all of that off my plate because I can't do it because I'm a reinventor. I get to the bottom of that spreadsheet, I'm like, oh, I got an idea. I know how to make this better, and I start over. And I do that all the time, and it's like I'm not good at it. So delegating that, but
you know what I freak out. No, it doesn't freak me out, but annoys me is like I'll get someone else's spreadsheet, and it won't be formatted. Like it'll be choppy. Like my spreadsheets are like dialed in, like all the borders, all the script, everything's scaled, everything's centered in the blocks, dialed in. And as soon as I see a spreadsheet and like it's like a border that runs across and stops where someone cut and pasted, I'm like, yo, where's the format?
Right.
Like my entire train of thought is now junk, and I'm right clicking the format cells, and I'm like, what? I'll lose like 2 hours of my life.
John, this is why we should work together because I'm bad at that and you're good at it. Like Nick,
do you think that you're like your own worst enemy to a sense where your guys probably they probably want to do what you want them to do, but they're probably so fearful that they might not be doing it the exact right way. So they're just like, hey Nick, check this out.
No, we're beyond that. It's not I would say it's probably a good 12 months of working together before.
They're not scared. It's the rip it out mentality. They don't have to worry about screwing up.
Like the first 12 months is a lot of, hey Nick, is this how you would do it? Hey Nick, what about that? Hey, but they catch on, and yeah, John's right. It's a rip it out mentality, but it's more so the having the conversation when they ask the question. It's like, hey, listen, like, what do you think? Like, do you think this is the best approach? No, I wouldn't do it this way. This is the way I would do it. I'm like, I agree with that. That's a better approach. Let's move forward with that.
My biggest dialogue I have is in the beginning is you need to think as if it's where's sorry, my son's texting me. You need to think about this as if it's your own company. I know you're under the umbrella of Vintage, but the day to day, if you're gonna take strides and put this much effort away from your family and devote it to this project and whatever else it is, you should think about it as if it's your own thing.
I thought you were talking to me for a second. I was like, do you hire him?
No, like I'm thinking of like John, my guy. I'm like, he's been doing this for like 15 years. I'm like, bro,
right?
Come on, like you don't need me to tell you anything. Like you just have to have confidence. So just take that confidence and run with it. And that's a lot of the issue is just them trusting themselves and not and to Nick's point of the ripping out mentality of being scared. It's like I remember when I used to work for other companies and be like, oh, I screwed up. I'm gonna lose my job, and like you'd lose a couple of days of actual thought process of you focusing on stuff because you're worried about that. And like John had to screw up a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, right before he went, the day he was leaving for vacation, it cost us like 10 grand, and he's like, oh man, I'm gonna come back to no job, blah blah. And I'm like, dude, it's never gonna happen. We're gonna have to have a serious conversation if this happens again. Like, but it's like for right now, no, I've devoted years to you, so we're in this together. And I always I thought about this the other day. I was listening to something else, or maybe it was somebody else I was listening to, and it was like I texted somebody, my painter. I was like, hey, they were painting cabinets, and I go, can you make sure that all the hardware holes are filled on the doors that you took off? And he's like, oh, it's not in the scope. I'm like, did anyone ever ask about that? Like, not being an asshole, just be like, I'm just confirming. Like, no one ever told me the doors were leaving site. Like, I didn't know you guys were starting. I know we had it planned, but I'm like, what's the deal? And he goes, and then he sends me the contract, and it's like line 5. And I was like, I remember reading it going, how much of this is on me and how much of this is on you not even talking about it?
Right.
Like, I'm fine taking blame. I'm like, can we get them filled when you paint them? Like,
is it a big deal?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't really care about line 5 on page 2. Like, it doesn't. I'm not going to turn to my client and go.
But do you think that it's because he's just so fearful that he's not going to get compensated? Because I've had that conversation too, and I'm like, can we just stop with the, like, I get that it's not in your scope. I never said it was. I'm happy to compensate you for it. I just need it done. Like, let's get over that.
Yeah, but like that's the conversation that should be had. If I'm adding scope, then it's a communication thing, straight up. It wasn't communicated well in the beginning, and it wasn't communicated well now. And I'll take blame. I guess that's what I'd rather go, hey, maybe I didn't communicate well enough with a client or set the right expectation, or with the sub where maybe I should have gone over it with them. But who's running the ship as the subcontractor when he's painting cabinets? Like, I just walk through and go, I don't know about these. Like, I'm not confident with what's happening. I think we need to sand everything down again. Oh yeah, no, we're definitely doing that. But it's like, how much of it has to be on me? But that's me communicating it, asking the dumb questions, and saying the stupid things, going, hey, just, you're saying doors are coming back next Thursday. Did they get filled? Like, that was me just talking out loud. And it didn't need to go to a contract thing. He's like, yeah, I'll fill them. I already sprayed everything once, so it's a couple $100. I'm like, if that conversation happened, it would have just been just like that.
Right.
I'm not asking for it for free. I'm just confirming.
I also, I had a conversation today where we want to spray one of our walls. We're doing a 5-coat paint on the wall, and the client wants to see it before they paint the whole unit. I'm like, all right, we'll get the painter in here. We'll prep this wall. We'll do an actual, hey, this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. And the painter just, casually was like, are we getting paid for this? And I just flipped it back on him. I'm like,
no, it's 100% free.
Well, one of the new APMs said, hey, they asked if they were getting paid. I'm like, call them and say no.
Yeah, right.
But I was like, I just flip it back. I'm like, I mean, if that's fair to pay you, if you find that fair, yeah. I mean, I'm not asking you to do anything for free if that's not in your scope. Of course, this is something the client had requested, to paint a wall. Most of it's going to be covered within the scope anyway, because you're doing all the prep work for the final. So I'm paying you for maybe a day's worth of work. Even if I eat that cost, it's worth it to me to make sure that the client is 100% on board with what the finish looks like, because this is such a big part of the project.
What is the finish?
What's that?
What is the finish?
It's the ultra flat white.
Fine paints of Europe.
It's not. Well, we are considering fine paints of Europe.
Are you considering it?
We are, because it flattens out so nice. Gary's like, terrible man.
Not that bad. It's better than mine.
No, but
Tyler, right? Just saying hello to Tyler. I didn't get a chance to say hey.
Oh, hey, how are you? Sorry.
How's it going, bud? You okay, mate?
I'm always late.
Tyler, are we in a new room?
No one's here.
It's like another room.
So
I
yeah.
like it.
I mean, I think I've been in this room
No,
before.
this is
I
the
feel like
good
last time
Wi-Fi
I was
room.
having internet. Yeah.
Yeah, this
He's
is-
This is
usually
very
always-
close to the router, and Rachel and the girls went to the lake, so I'm just like
Damn.
by myself. I can set up wherever I want.
Do you have
Are
pants
we
on?
usually facing the windows.
I can't be held down.
You do sound clearer tonight.
Do I?
Yeah, that sounds like crispy clear. Good.
Yeah,
You're
I've
gonna make
been
this your room.
I've been working on that.
We got a ton of feedback from our survey monkey. 17
Dang.
surveys.
Whoa.
Are we getting into this now or?
Well, because I was just someone, you said, Tyler sounds great, and one of the comments was Tyler needs to speak more.
Oh, sorry. I was just about to say Nick has on a t-shirt tonight.
I know. I was
He's
hot.
going with
Casual.
is it the baseball
Casual
cut?
Tuesdays.
It is baseball cut.
Oh, look at
Damn.
you. You didn't need to lift up.
It's got my number on it. Nothing.
What was that?
So Gary, going back to your comment a couple minutes ago, talking about personal life and how it impacts the business. So you were John, you alluded to it, but you were working on a big project at your place.
Yeah. So I mean, work life is just generally busy anyway. We run. I always just try and plan. Let's say I've got 8 guys. I'll try and have 9 days work. I just have a business model. I'd rather just have a lot to do than not enough. It just makes financial sense to do that. But we moved into this place about a year ago with the view to do it up, as everyone does, over 3 or 4 years, and it just escalated. We did the loft conversion. You guys familiar with loft conversions?
No.
So most of the roof spaces in the UK they're just wasted spaces. So we convert them into rooms.
Gotcha.
We
call them attics.
Yeah, an attic conversion. Yeah,
I like
same
loft way better.
Yeah, it sounds way cooler. It sounds like New York.
Yeah.
So we did the loft conversion, and then our plans escalated. We think we wasn't sure whether we wanted to stay in this house or go. So yeah, just jacked it up, and we I just tried to get through the whole remodel refurb as quick as we could. But what that takes away from and now I'll finish now. It's a lovely feeling, but what it takes away from
lovely
game,
lovely.
What it takes away from our game, like Monday to Friday, it's just so hard, man, to stay on the ball, at work Monday to Friday with so much going on at home. And obviously I'm looking at John's room there. You're in the same boat.
Yeah, a lot going on. No, but I think what we were talking about before is I like this is like my therapy. If I go for a run, I love it. But coming in and sanding, I was just like, dude, it's the same as a run to me. Like being able to sit there and get all set up, sanded, have all my stuff here, dial it in, and then know I'm one step closer to finishing. Yeah, I like my wife and I are talking about doing the addition for the house, and she's like, I don't want to live in a 10-year renovation. I'm like, I don't want to be your contractor for 10 years. Straight up. Nothing wrong with her, but I don't want to be coming home. I don't know if you guys have seen Patterson's home that he's been pushing, and I'm just at no point in time am I jealous, or I'm like, okay, the bar has officially been moved, and set, and when I don't know if you watched his story the other day, he's like, yeah, when we were building the house, we come up here and camp on the weekends, and I'm sitting there going, tent on the ground, and then he pans to a photo, and it's it's an airstream, and I'm like, oh yeah, Okay,
That's how you do
that's,
it.
that's slightly different. And so I'm like, all right, what do I have to do? Like, I feel like I'm in a good place, and it's getting those checks, like the checks and balance, from someone completely out of like this universe to me. And it's like, all right, well, it's like same as Jason and Melissa at Veranda, like going even AFT. I feel like he's been on vacation for the last 3 months. Right? Like he's like everywhere. He's in Nashville golfing like last weekend. And I'm like, all right, okay, I guess I have to take more time off. And Ben made that a fact to me because I took last Thursday off and I did some work in the house. I texted you guys when I did some carpentry and it still works. And I got all 10 fingers. And I said, I went to work on, I thought Thursday would be better so I could still make sure everything is rolling for Friday, Saturday. And I go on Friday, I'm talking to Ben. I'm like, I feel like someone took their foot off the pedal. I was gone for a day, and Ben is on the phone. He's like, maybe it's not the fact that you need to take less time off. Maybe you need to take more off, and people will just figure shit out.
Right.
And I was like, touche. But I do feel like there's a lot of, like, we're doing that Cohasset project, and we did the budget today. It's like we're cramming $2 million into a house in little over 6.5 months. And it's like, all right, how? Like, who set up that expectation? That's 100% me.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that we have like a landscape architect, interior designer, and an architect, but none of them like really jive. So there's too much gray area across the board. I'm like, how do I delegate this? Someone explain it to me. Who do I give this to where I could go somewhere else and it would be dialed in for me? I asked the designer that today. I'm like, what do you think? And she's like, you couldn't. So it's just, how do you scale up?
Tyler, didn't you
control.
didn't you sort of convert? I think when I first started following you a couple of years back, wasn't you in the middle of some sort of refurb at home?
I try and take on
Or
small.
whatever.
I try and take on small projects. Although my daughter's bathroom has been unfinished for like a year. So usually, for a while, what worked best was to start a project and then finish a project. One smaller job, like at home. All right, we're going to do the living room. We're going to do the bathroom rather than just tear into everything at once, so that we could live there.
Will you treat it like a project, or will you
Pretty
do
much
it evenings and weekends? Because I mean, that's how I've had to do it, evenings and weekends, and that's probably what part has killed me. No downtime.
Yeah, I mean, I think that being at home and like our property that we have, it's evening and weekends for everything. So the bigger jobs where I feel like if I need to do my kitchen, I'm gonna have to schedule it and I'm gonna have to take time off and like get up the bulk of it done, and then kind of, I guess, towards the end do the evening weekend thing. It's too hard. It's hard to do both. I don't know how to do both.
No, yeah, I agree.
And I don't know. I also would have a hard time there's things I would pay somebody to do at my house, and interior renovations aren't one of them.
What is one of them?
Siding.
Insulation.
Yeah. Roofing.
Oh yeah,
Insulation. Hell yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Oh yes.
That used to be my low-hanging fruit. I'll bang that out. I'd bang it out, have a system, and kill it. And I look back and I'm like, same with demo. I'm like, why would I just not give that up? What was I holding?
I've got guys. I've like some of my guys are like so impressive at just demolishing things. They make it look effortless.
Yeah, but do they?
Honestly,
I hate it.
Are they doing it
At what stage?
Yeah. No, and this is the thing. Yeah.
Ripping it out's easy, but it's like the cleanup that's always that's the worst.
No, like one of them. I mean,
Tyler's got it dialed in.
Yeah, well, I just got like one of the senior members he just got a knack of making things look easy when he's bashing things down. Yeah, and he just set him up with a team, clean up. But just there's definitely an art to that of smashing things down for sure.
Right. I mean, it's like the guys that rip down
apart.
buildings. It's like when they're running the excavator and they're like they're piling the steel, the masonry, the wood, and it's just crunching it up and separating it. It's like it's exactly like you said. It looks effortless.
It's an extension.
I would love to never have to demo again.
Right?
Ever.
Yeah,
It's terrible. It's the worst. I can't stand it. It's dirty. It also is like, I would love to have somebody demo for me, but it's the type of thing where I feel like you're walking into a job that's setting the tone for the job. My job's the customers are there, and like you just pitch them and sold them on this entire process, and then you're going to let somebody come in there and just tear it apart, and you know that they're not going to take the care that you do, and they're just going to move at such a pace that it's basically impossible. And I feel like that could really get the project off on the wrong foot, and then also create a lot more damage than necessary.
Yeah, but couldn't you just work alongside them in that case?
I don't know.
I mean, you could do
Maybe.
all the protection.
I think you should.
All the protection, dial it all in, and then be like, hey, I teed you up, so it's good to go.
Dude, I tee up anyone and they can still manage to not.
Yeah, but your
especially
expectations
demo.
are like ridiculous.
No, I just feel like for what I'm selling
I
and
would
what my customers hire me for, I wouldn't necessarily be able to sub out demo, just because it's always tight spaces and the customers are living there, and I don't know, it'd be tough.
I always thought it was crazy when Nick would have his demo guys do the protection in the beginning.
I don't remember. I don't remember them ever doing protection.
Yeah.
Not on a finished space. We would always do it. Maybe
No,
I'm
but
wrong.
No, it was one point where we were using the same
We did
guys.
talk about that. Yeah,
And I was
you
like,
asked who was doing the
I was like,
protection.
what?
Oh, they're
And
gonna
you're
go
like,
out Ram
yeah.
board.
And I was like, what just happened? Like
Yeah, I
to,
forget
to
what
Tyler's
job
point,
that
it was like
was.
there's a certain amount of like I'll let go of stuff, but like when it comes to protection and all that stuff, like you're the one thinking out. Like you have to. It's like when you do a roof, you think of like where water's going the whole time you're roofing. You're like, where's water going? Where would water go? Where would you live? And like you think this little fantasy. It's the same as dust. When you're doing demo, like where will you go? Where am I going to find you? Where am I thinking of
Everywhere.
everything? Yeah, except for yours. Like you did that last photo, or that story that time when you did all your, you took everything down at the project, and you're like, this is the only dust that got out. It was like this little
for
size
like
of a quarter.
4 months worth
Yeah.
of work. There was like one spot. I don't know. I just feel like it's so important, and it for me it sets the tone, and I don't want to be doing it. If our jobs were bigger, I think I'd probably consider it more, but I just feel like that's an opportunity for you to show up to a job, set up, demolish whatever you are, and get all of the trash off site, and then vacuum and clean up, and your customers can be like, holy crap, like we've had so many people come in here and our entire house was trashed. And it's dummy work, but I think that it's a really good opportunity for you to kind of showcase yourself and set yourself apart.
Well, I think you hit it there. It's it's the protection, but it's also the end cleanup, where it's like we're doing the protection, and then we're doing the final cleanup. So it's like we're vacuuming in between. Did Uber Eats just show up, John?
Grubhub to the wrong house. What do I do?
Oh, no.
Eat
My
it.
son just brought it in.
Open it.
I mean, they're gone now.
It's Ty.
What is it, sushi?
Who do I call? Which number do I call?
Probably
I think you
the
gotta call
restaurant.
Bradley. Deliver to Bradley. H, call that number. 617-413. Yeah.
See what's in there first. Take something out.
It smells good.
It's probably
Take
sushi.
something
It's
out.
still
You
piping
gotta,
hot.
You gotta get a little bit of payment for that.
Tyler, I agree. So it's just the demo, or I guess site prep. It's just another point of which you can excel and show your why better, more conscientious guys are where we are, or endeavor to be where we are. Because that's the difference. People just rock up, they start bashing things down, no care. And it's just, if the clients, I mean, all the jobs that we do, almost all of them, 80% are people are still living there. So you just spend a day, make a definite difference between the building site and where they live. And it goes such a long way. People really, really appreciate just the small bits of effort you make just to segregate their lives from the building site. And it's so simple. It's just these little things that, that separate conscientious builders from the ones that aren't.
I think that for what we're selling also, when we get in there, I think that it's a point in a project that anxiety can be very high, but there's also a lot of excitement. But realistically, you come in and you're literally tearing apart somebody's house while they're in there, and it can be scary for them. And I think that just being there and remaining calm and, anything that you uncover, you're going to be able to fix. I think that goes a long way. And again, if it's a 3-month job, if it's a 4-month job, whatever it is, that's setting the tone day one. You're really helping yourself get off on the right foot, which I don't know if it's worth it for me to give that up.
And for me, some of the guys, when I ask them to turn up and do this to a job, that the more conscientious ones will be happy to do it, but some of them just want to go there and get stuck in and start cracking on. But you're providing them with a great working environment to be able to then do the stuff that they sort of want to do. A lot of the guys don't want to go there and start making screens, but it's important because you're setting you're creating a nice site for them to be able to do, ultimately what they're going to work to do. Sometimes they don't have that self-restraint to stop, take a view, do that.
Yeah, where it's like, just put it down. No, we're not taking that down yet. What do you want me to start? I just want you to keep protecting and keep putting floor protection down.
Yeah,
we're not ready yet.
So much work in the long run, so much work.
I'm gonna be good at this. I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and what happens if you're hurt, or your guy's unavailable, or let's say it's like plumbing, you have to be licensed to do it. Well, how is it any different that you wouldn't set up all the right things? Like when I walk around before we do demo, I'm Sharpieing on the wall to my stop points, to my start points. Everything's dialed in the house. What's getting kept, what's not, everything throughout the entire house. That way it is, I look at it as this burden of a GC to make it as efficient as possible for the demo guys to make as much money as possible. And then if it's as straight up as clean as can be, meaning how you go about doing it, where do I stop, less questions, it's easy enough for everybody, you'll get a better product, meaning it won't be stuff thrown all over the ground where when they come in, like they vacuum all the in between every 2x4. Every screw's gone. Like it's better than we like the last job, like during COVID, we had a carpentry crew that was doing stuff for us in Cambridge and Boston. Those jobs got shut down. So they're like, hey, can we do some demo for you? That's what I'm like, I was like, I have this demo right now down in Cohasset. So they did it. Them compared to the actual demo crew that we brought in, the efficiency and how good they were and how clean they kept it with their negative air machines. I didn't have to do my own negative air. They did it all. They plasticed off what they had to for that room. Basically, whatever I did, they did their own version of it, like an asbestos. Like you don't have to go in there and go, oh, guys, let me get this for you. Get in your, Tyvek suit. I think there's two parts here, is that it keeps you busy. It keeps guys busy and it's low hanging fruit, and really it's mindless work. But at a certain point where when people want to scale up the ladder and get somewhere, like Tyler said, if I could give up demo, there's a lot of times where if I couldn't see myself doing it, then I probably shouldn't have my guys do it, and I should find the right people. So it's, looking around, it's happening somewhere in your town, in your city, that someone's probably just as passionate about what you do, as demo.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think, the hardest part is like you said, John, setting the expectation and finding that guy, because the fact of the matter is it's a dirty trade, and a lot of guys do it just to do it to get the paycheck.
A lot of turnover.
Right, the turnover's high, but for Tyler's point, or for Tyler's sake, it's like, I do think that you could do it in a manner where it's like you're working alongside them and then kind of setting those expectations. And it's just like anything. It's like if they understand the value behind it, then it typically happens more. And it's like, I think about plumbing and electrical. We had this conversation today. It's like, I want the pipes coming up the wall, nice and plumb. Like, it's got to look good. At all phases of the job, it should always look good, and demo can't be any different than that. But it is. It's hard to set that expectation with turnover so high.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think that if there were an opportunity that came up where I thought it was a good decision, I'm not holding on to it because I think that I'm better at demoing than anyone else, sure. Or that like my demolition product is nicer than somebody who does that every day. I just think that a lot of times with the smaller jobs. Like, for example, the last job that we demoed, we were basically trying to keep a bathroom until the last part of the job, and where material was coming out and where like the air scrubber was going to be set up, I was kind of setting up for long term how that was going to happen, and thinking, you know, about finishes and where we're going to be framing first, where that stuff, it's so difficult for me to step out and walk through that in order to articulate that to somebody else and then sit there and watch them while it's just like, I just might as well do it myself.
I agree. And there's cost implications as well. Like you can do it yourself. Like we can all do it. Like for me and Tyler, probably Nick, you obviously stuff's on a bigger scale. It probably needs teams of guys in, but for my stuff and Nick's, like we can do it. So why not still?
Yeah, I wish. It's not something that I love doing. It's the same reason why I do drywall on jobs, because for me to set somebody up to come in to do drywall, then I have to pull off. I have to find something else in my schedule. I typically don't have two bigger things going on at once, and then I have to come and I have to get somebody into the house, and then I have to make sure that they clean up at the end of the day, make sure everything's good with the customers, close up the house at the end of the day, and it's like, well, I was just here twice. I might as well just do it myself, and the money goes in my pocket. And it's not that I want to be doing it. Sometimes it's just easier.
That's
Nick, are you still swearing by plaster?
That's all we do over here. I mean, we don't do any.
Really? All I see on Instagram is the dry lining. That's what we call it, like plasterboard and filler. Like
it's as common as putting in hardwood first and then baseboard. We get it.
We don't do all we do domestically in the UK is plaster only.
So it's only in this region of the US. I mean,
really?
It's other spurts of the US have it, but it's not like standard is absolutely drywall. But just I think it's Massachusetts and Rhode Island really that it's, you know, plaster is just it's not even a discussion like at all.
It's not even all of Massachusetts though.
It's not even all Mass, no.
No, it's not.
So it's.
I've had questions from some guys from the States, just like almost asking, "What's that you're putting on the wall?" Because our plaster is slightly different color. It's like
color.
Is he interviewing us?
I think so. He just he has a pen.
What just happened?
He has a pen with. I think he's got questions. He's
so what is
off.
what is your
I'm drawing pictures. I'm doodling.
What's your plaster? What's your plaster that you guys put up? Is it board and then like veneer coat like they do?
Yeah, so that's my actual trade. I'm a plasterer by trade. Plasterboard. Then we just take the joints. We use like a fiber tape on all the joints, and then we use it's called Thistle multi-finish, and it's a 2-coat system. You lay one on, and then probably half hour to 45 minutes later, after it's just the suction stop, you lay a little bit thinner coat, and that gets it, like glass.
Well, I'm thinking Structolite.
I have a couple questions on that. So, are you the first coat? Is it the entire board, or is it just scratch coat over the seams?
No, entire board.
And is it lime based or gypsum based?
Gypsum.
It is gypsum. Okay.
Yeah.
So we most of the stuff we use over here is a lime base. One of our projects now, the super contemporary one, that's all gypsum based, and it has a much higher PSI. It's much harder when it dries. So
through COVID, that was one of them. We've still got massive problems with getting our typical plaster, and a few of the merchants did explore other products from the rest of Europe, like it's like a white plaster, which is probably more of the stuff that you guys
or diamond.
Yeah, and oh my god, just can't do it. Just can't do it.
Yeah,
totally different to what maybe the climates maybe suit different plasters perhaps, but it's just funny that it's so biased in America to take jointing. Drywall. Yeah, because it's so inferior. It's would you agree? It's such an inferior way to do it. Surely.
I think so. Because but that's we've grown up.
I don't know. Sorry, Tyler.
It's a hard.
No, you're really skilled at it for sure. I couldn't do it. Like But it just seems like when you maybe fix things to the walls, is it not inferior?
I think that plaster would be a nicer product.
All right. Okay.
But like it around us, it's just, I mean, there's a lot of old houses that are plaster, which is lath and plaster, which is completely different. So they're doing, they're doing a veneer coat over top of a more traditional board. If that were I would rather that. It's just nobody really does it around here. There's people who do specialize in that, but I couldn't tell you. Like John Marley's one job, they did. I think they did a couple of the rooms
the
where
last project.
Yeah, I think they did a couple rooms in it.
Yeah, it was a mix, which is
just
wild.
because there was like so much raking light, but then on the other rooms where they didn't do it, you could definitely see like the difference between drywall and seams.
Which I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like if we hired a guy to do drywall, it would cost us just as much to do plaster.
I thought about it before. I think it takes more time because you have to sand the seams, so you'd actually lose time. But
no, because apparently, you can lay on multiple rooms with drywall in a day. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whereas, like, if I'm with, like, say, if I'm set up for myself plastering, the very most I could do in one day on my own with a helper would be one room. But perhaps drywall you could do maybe over the course of 3 or 4 days. You could probably achieve a bit more, perhaps.
Yeah, you would hang all the board, do first coat, do second coat. Yeah,
you maybe do a house in
all the sanding. The same time. Anybody think about, like, when you're taking down lath? Imagine plastering that.
Dude, imagine nailing up the lath.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a nail in every single piece.
But, nailing it every
for
single
sure.
2 nails each piece.
Look how long it lasts.
No guns, but then imagine putting on that thick layer of plaster, horsehair, and you just hammering it with your shoulders, just like boom. Every single one.
Over here, we've got something similar. Sometimes we render exterior plaster on like metal lath. And there is definitely an art to it. Yeah, you really got to try and hang it on the mesh as opposed to push against it. That's probably the closest relation.
Yeah, I feel like you're losing so much material. It's like doing a mud bed on a wall, not a mud bed, a mud. A mud
which
wall.
They do.
Right, but it's like they lose a ton of material as they go up, and I don't know if I have no idea if they're scooping it up and reusing it, but it's like. It's just, I feel like you're basically throwing it at the wall, trying to get it to stick, and then, as you say, Gary, you're rendering it from there. I like that word.
Yeah, I can't.
Do you not render?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time that we demo lath and plaster, I think to myself, whose job was it to sit here and nail up every one of these by
Seriously.
hand? It's like, it blows my mind.
But they took pride in every single step.
Like how long it takes to rip down. Imagine putting it up.
No, it's Tyler. You said something earlier about not subbing out demo. Imagine if you subbed out demo, you could actually be home doing some of your bathroom. Just put it in that context.
I feel like I'd still be there. Like, don't mess this up.
But I think I agree. To Nick's point, I've gone through a few guys. So you find the right chemistry and the right click, and then at that point you got to see like which demo guys show up. Like there was a demo guy that came to Cohasset to take out the master. We were just taking out all the tile because they added the scope, and I looked in the truck and I'm like, oh, that dude demoed my kitchen in Malden, like I don't know 8 years ago. Same dude. I'm like, we're good. Have fun, guys. I'll check in with you at the end of the day. Like it's just. I guess you have to embark on that relationship.
And that's the other tough thing is that I'm not pumping out that volume of work, so the opportunity to test subs, like however many jobs I have a bigger demo job, if it's a couple times a year, that's like such an investment of my time trying to find somebody who's good and then testing them and then it burning me and then trying to find somebody else where, in order to scale, I definitely would have to. That would be the go-to route. I'd have to start trying people out. But I mean, that's the toughest thing. If I have a bad electrician or a bad plumber, is that the next job that I have to try them on may be 2 months out. It could be 3 months out. And then I try them and they're a dud. And then it's another 3 months before I can try somebody else. So it is tough to kind of find somebody who's good where you're not pumping out a couple dozen jobs a year, or bigger jobs where you can try people like that. That's like a full-time job in and of itself.
Biggest problem?
Finding staff, like finding staff. It's without doubt my biggest issue. Like,
I think it's widespread.
And it's like getting people to blend into the team is so hard. Like the politics where people join, it's the biggest problem for me, for sure. Like growing the company just with the right people, it's really difficult.
Well, what's your vetting process? How do they enter your team?
Well, it's been so difficult because my team's been together for so long. We've had the main core of guys, the 5 plus myself. We've been together 5 or 6 years now. So there's been times where we've got to get look at getting people in, and it's just you do the best due diligence you can. You ask around. Let's say I'm after a carpenter. I'll ask around all the guys that I know of, good guys. I'll approach them, and then they're either not what you thought, or they don't blend in because of politics, or their work ethic isn't quite good. That's one area that we.
Is it because they don't like the right soccer team?
No. No, I don't think that's the reason.
What is the
that reaction was amazing. It was like,
what is the pool of? I mean, where you are typically, most guys and girls are going to college, university. Is that what you call it?
Everybody wants to be a chippy carpenter. Yeah.
Really?
Everybody. Yeah. It's totally that field, in my opinion, is oversaturated. The reason, one of the problems over here is that for you to be so-called qualified in any trade is 2 years. It's just not enough to be good.
So you just have to work for somebody for 2 years?
No, you go to college.
Oh, okay.
1 or 2 days a week, depending on what trade you want to do, and then providing you tick all the right boxes and you've had a few inspections. But basically, if you can hang a door, then you basically be able to be a qualified carpenter. But everybody, there's just so much. You're not ready.
Oversaturated, underskilled.
Yes.
So are they setting that up in high school? Are most people realizing in high school that they don't want to necessarily go to college, or they want to be in the trades, or they're trade specific high schools?
I would say I don't know how relatable this is, but I think I've heard you guys talk about it a number of times, but it always seems to be the second or third option to join a trade here. It's like, oh, that I didn't do very well at that or that, so just get a trade. It isn't like people are 11, 12 or 13 and wanting to be a brickie or carpenter or roofer. That isn't happening. That doesn't happen. It's always the backup. So you have colleges that are specific for trades where you can go and get some sort of like accreditation or something to. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So once someone decides that they want to have a trade, then they they can learn basic skills, but they do need employment before they can have a proper apprenticeship. Once they gain employment, then they will share time between the employment, on-site experience, and at college. They split that time 70 to 80% on-site, 20% in sort of at college learning the skills for 2 years, and then a 19-year-old who's just done 2 years of college thinks he can go and cut roofs.
Are you allowed to work for somebody without having that schooling?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's just like something that they think is going to put them on a level above somebody else their age.
Yeah. So for instance, great point. So you can have someone that that they both started to learn carpentry at the same time. One of them decided to learn on site without going to college. One of them, and he spent every day on site learning. And you have the other one that goes to college. He spends 2 days a week in college. The guy that spent all of his time on site is probably going to be a lot better, but unqualified at the end of it. The one goes to college is nowhere near as skilled, but comes out thinking that they're better. It isn't right, because if they were sticking back, if you go back a few years, they were doing 4 or 5 year apprenticeships. You probably then, by the time you do the 5 years, they have probably invested enough time in the finer details that you can warrant being a highly skilled, better skilled person than the one that was on site, maybe. But yeah, it's just they're just not good enough when they come out of college, for sure.
Are a lot of employers looking for that college education to hire people? I just feel like at that point, what is the advantage for somebody going through that if they're basically at a disadvantage coming out? Are a lot of employers saying, hey, we want somebody with 2 years of schooling, that's all we're going to hire, we're not going to hire somebody who doesn't have that?
No, I would say it's all based on, once you're qualified and you're walking around saying that we use carpenters because it's just the most popular one. Once people walk around saying, I'm a qualified carpenter and I'm ready to go, then it's all about just put your money where your mouth is and prove it. That's all that it can, that's all that. You don't need to tick the box to say you've gone to college to necessarily get approval from any construction firm. You just need to do it. But that's the point. They're not coming out good enough, but they think they are because the college have told them. They just tick their box. That they're nowhere near the level required to be able to walk on site and do it.
So why are kids going there? Because they think that's the right thing to do?
I'll tell you why, and it's where we live in. So a lot of these kids at the age of 16, 17 simply wouldn't get a job unless. So when you're an apprentice, you earn not very much money. You earn there's a set pay structure for a first year apprentice in the UK will earn about £140 a week. Second year, $220. So they don't earn much money. It's supposed to encourage employers to take on these trainees. That's why a lot of employers are taking these guys on as cheap labor. It's not right. It's not.
Because I feel like
ideal.
Nick and John, don't you think that something like that and having some sort of accreditation, even if you wanted to be a carpenter, would be helpful? It's almost like the what's the Red Seal or whatever the heck it is for Canada.
I would say North Bennett Street School.
Yeah, but I feel like something along those lines. Right now, if you want to be a carpenter, you have to do nothing. You just show up. And I don't think that it really weeds out people who are serious, and there's no way to gauge, to be a plumber, to be an electrician, there's schooling, there's a certain amount of apprenticeship hours. If they had something like that for carpentry, I feel like it would be advantageous for our industry.
How long is an apprenticeship to be a carpenter, a bricklayer in the US?
None. I mean, unless you're a union.
Yeah, it's
right. Like
that doesn't exist.
It's not structured. And that's,
only if you want to be like a plumber or electrician, where there's a separate license.
So I feel like in the UK, that is a fantastic model. You're basically signing up to someone to say, you're going to have a lot of on-site experience, 3 to 4 days a week, and you are going to then go to college. And they will teach you the skills, the finer skills, some of the skills that simply on site, on a busy day, you don't have the time to sit there and say, right, today I'm just going to show you how to cut these hinges in on this door perfectly. In the best will in the world, everybody wants to teach apprentices that, but sometimes you just don't have the time to do it. So it's great that the apprenticeship system is there to do that. It's just not long enough. 2 years isn't long enough to go through all the details required for any trade when they're only there 1 day a week. I feel like it would be a lot more credible if that structure system changed from 2 to 4 years. They used to do that in the olden days, and apprentices come out of college, fantastic. They could walk into a job, confident that they can do what they need to do. That doesn't happen over here now. But yeah, it's a good model. It just needs to be longer, in my opinion.
Yeah, we don't even have the model.
I mean,
It's a shame. Why?
I feel like it'd be a great step up from what we're getting already at entry level. Because
I just think it would, like he said, it need to be structured correctly.
Yeah, I mean, you have people that are taking time and investment into this, where most people are just doing it as a whim. Where I feel like we'd have a better vet, but even still, like we're talking with Wentworth, my alma mater, for construction management, and I'm like, hey, I don't want how many students are in that degree. I'm like, I talked to one of my guys. I was like, hey, do you know anybody over there? I want to talk to the teacher and be like, I want to know who's like hungry. I don't want to know who's getting the best grades. I want to know someone that's hungry, that's passionate, that's maybe does average in school. I want to get that pulse on what's going on. Like if I were to go down to the local Voc school, that's exactly the same thing I would say. What's going on? Because I'm finding like even my site guys, they can't find an operator. And he's like, I keep looking. And it's like, yeah, man, like I was told this years ago that like when you hit 30, there's guys that either would go off on their own or they're never doing it. So their motivation, their accountability, they're just there for the 9 to 5. So there's this kind of middle ground. And when I was told that, I didn't know what it meant. But like everybody that my site guy's looking for an operator, they're flaking. Like at like 30, 35 years old. What you're complaining about right now at like 18?
Yeah.
35-year-old people are doing the exact same thing, and they're flaking on stuff where they can do them, like they suck at math, but they're awesome at doing the math on unemployment and how much they're going to get and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And but now he's like, I'm like, hey, I think you're looking in the wrong spot. So I'm like, we got to tap into that younger generation that I look at myself.
Dude, hire Nick. Did you see his mini work?
I did. That's why I'm not hiring him.
I hired someone to fix it. They're coming Friday.
So they do that with the union. If you want to be a carpenter in the union or a painter in the union, whatever, all that stuff, but just not residential construction.
How do kids like develop?
They don't.
Just by osmosis.
On the job.
Yeah. It's
so Nick, you got a massive team full of skilled, highly skilled carpenters.
Yeah, and we've had apprentices, and we're broken out in apprentices, carpenters, and leads, and it's really just to be frank, it's up to my discretion as to what I think they fall into, and I hate that. And I going back to the beginning of this conversation, I'd like structure behind it. I'd like to set goals for hey. An apprentice, this is how much time you need to put into it. These are the things that you need to master or progress in and show progress. And I don't have that. And that's, and as we grow, it's kind of one of those roles and responsibilities. It's like, okay, yeah, we know what a project manager does. We know what a APM does. We know what a lead carpenter does. But what's the definition between a carpenter and apprentice, and how do they go from one to the other? And yeah, like Tyler said, it's from a union, it's there, and the union also has the side of education where it's like they're an apprentice, they're also required to get educated and go to school 1 or 2 nights a week or whatever the case is. I'd love some sort of structure behind, hey, you want to be an apprentice? Sure. Nothing? Great. Come learn with us, come work with us, and at night 2 nights a week, go over to North Bennett Street and take a class on these two, these two things.
Imagine if North Bennett went remote learning and their classroom could go from 15 to 1,500.
Yeah.
That would be the jam.
Let's write that in the $1 Million Idea book. Hold on.
I just why not? Because there's so much. I'm gonna steal the line from Joe Rogan. It's like there's so much fast food information out there.
Yeah.
Like there's so much people putting out junk for information that young carpenters, young builders, young contractors are gonna eat up, and then they're gonna fail at it, and they're gonna go, I did everything that they're doing that's successful. They're seeing a snapshot of what happens on social media. Mm-hmm. They don't see the lawsuits. They don't see all the aggravation and the no reviews and all these things. That's what aggravates me, and I get so frustrated on the podcast. is that, you know, it's people want to either come on here and be and dictate and have a conversation that makes them want to sound like the way they want to be, and not actually who they really are. And that frustrates me.
Nick, have you got any apprentices at the minute?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you not find the same? Oh, we've got one actual apprentice and one learner. He's learning, but he's not an official apprentice. He's a bit too old for it. If you hit a certain age, you don't qualify for the sort of government funding. But we still taking him on with the view that he's learning.
Okay.
And I just love it. I love it when they like develop. And over a course of, I've had, you know, some of the guys with me being there for like 4 or 5 years, and they've gone from, you know, just guys that clean up and that, and now they're like quite handy. And you can see them, like when they're young, they like when you do something cool and you're like, oh look, like give it a go, like the thought that you can see it in their head, like that they could do that one day, that like, and to see them develop into that, I love that. I love it.
100%. I have one kid, Patrick. He started with me, 0 experience. 0, like came in and I just liked him, and I knew that he was gonna, you know, fit in well, and he wanted it. Like John said, he seemed hungry, and he's cruising. He's picked it up, and I keep thinking about, like, I want to put something in place for him so he understands how to get from apprentice to carpenter. But at this point, he's been with me 2 years, and he's doing stuff at a level that I would consider a carpenter's level, not an apprentice. But it's like, what formally made that change? There isn't
right. Ever. There's no line in the sand moment, is there? It's just one day they're good enough, but it's
right.
You need
and
balls.
It's up to my discretion.
You need balls. Yeah, you need balls to go and trust them. It's hard. And then
it's not even that I can't. It's not even that I don't trust them or I don't have the ball. I'll just make everyone a carpenter. I like, you know, it's not that. It's the fact that, like, I feel like for me, I owe it to them to have some sort of structure for them to understand. Just like, how do I get from making $30 an hour to $40 an hour? Like, what is that? Like, what's that path? I want to work towards that.
But was that ever mapped out for you when you were with your dad? It was never mapped out for me.
No.
It was, I would keep going until someone saw something in me and goes, hey, guess what? You're getting a raise. Or
I know, but that just doesn't, I don't believe in that.
I know. Or someone would go, hey, I found another job somewhere else. It's time for a bump. And it was all just smoke.
Right, but like, I hate, like, anytime it gets to that, we've talked about that. Anytime it gets to the point where they're coming to me, I'm like, I'm late.
It's already wrong. I'm with you, but I'm just, what you want, I'm just thinking of how we've all been there. Garrett, when you were younger, was it spelled out for you when you got in the industry? Was it spelled out, hey, for the next 2 years, you're going to do this, and then you're going to make this window of money, and then for the next 3 years, you're going to be here. This is going to be the money.
No way. No. I did not have a learning structure of any sort. It was just, I learned plastering. As soon as I felt I was good enough, I went for it, and, you know, I worked on the bigger sites where they're not as fussy, shall we say. I learned. I was in an environment where I could learn my skill, and I was a so-called plasterer. Yeah, I probably wasn't quite good enough, but I winged it for long enough.
Why didn't you stay as a plasterer?
I got laid off. I was subbing. I went from working for a construction company that was really similar to, a bit smaller than what I am now, and it was bad work ethic, really, really bad, and it was falling out with every customer. So I went on my tools, plastering every day, and then it was the last recession in the UK, 2008, I think, and all the site work dried up, and I ended up going to labour. So I was prepared to work and do anything just to bring a little bit of money in. And my missus actually found it's a funny website back then. It was called My Builder, and they linked trades to homeowners who didn't know the trades. these websites are all over the world now, but back then it was like quite a new thing. So someone needs their ceiling plastered, but they don't know a plasterer, so they post a job online, and then you like do a little virtual quote for it, and you might win the job. Like so when the site work dried up, I started to do a bit of this. Now on there, one day a job come up for a small extension, we call it addition. I had no right to put my name for it, but other than the fact that I was involved in building extensions, additions with the previous builder that was terrible a few years back. So I thought, I've been around the guys that did it. I'm gonna just put a quote in, and if I get it, I'm gonna surround myself by a few of the old guys that I used to work with, and hopefully they can help me through it. And I got the job because I was so cheap, obviously, and that was my first time. That was the first time in my career where I'd gone from having only looking at a week's work in front of me on site work, plastering. You don't really know the real world of it is you're only really booked up for a week, and that was the first time in my career where I had a little bit of job security. I had a 3-month job. I called one of the old boys up. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. You used to do this all the time. Can I like labor for you, and we'd do it together? I'll like pay you money and happy days. And he was happy to do so because he could see that I wanted to try and do things like in a good way. He helped me out, and then I was able to back up like a little bit of work behind me. I didn't get another extension addition for probably another 3 or 4 months, but I was able to do like back up like a month and then another month behind that. And eventually, because I had completed one extension, I had something in my portfolio that then I could say, let me cut on it. I've done this one. I've taken to show it. I showed him it, and then and here we are now, built almost 100 now, and happy days.
I would have gone out of my mind if there was only a week of work ahead of me.
All I was thinking about the whole time he was talking.
That was it. That was it. So if you're a subcontractor, you're only as good as the contractor you're working for, and if they fuck things up, it's ruined for everybody, and that's just the way it is. And it's honestly, I would get 1 week, it'll be payday, and I'll be like, here's my invoice, and they chip you like 20% of it for no reason, and then the next week they say, we'll pay the like week after that. It's a ruthless world. Just week at a time. I was confident in my own ability to a certain degree that if that site fell through, then I could I could make a few phone calls, and maybe after a few 3 or 4 more days I could jump on another site. That's what it is. Just like,
so how old were you?
Site bashers.
How old were you then?
I was 19.
19.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing I don't envy from a subcontractor side is the outlook. It's like, how far are you booked out right now? I'm about 2 weeks out. I'm like,
yeah, what?
Dude, you're like, the fact that you're constantly scheduling.
2 weeks out, you're looking at stuff like 3 times a week.
Right.
That's going to be the end of the month.
Yeah.
And then
it's just how like that
yeah.
that I made the comment last podcast, and I've given this a lot of thought, John, but like I talked about being booked out for 2 to 3 years, and realistically that might not be the right outlook on it, but I guess my thought is
I thought about it too,
and I want to hear what your thoughts are, but let me finish my point first because it's way more important. No, I'm just kidding. No, but like the fact, like I could not imagine being in a position where it's you're like you said 3 times a week looking at work, getting let's say 1 out of the 3, and then plugging that in on a calendar that you don't even have to scroll to the next page on.
Yeah, but Nick, you must have been there before when you was like building. I seen the post that not so long ago when you used to build like sheds and stuff. Yeah, like nice garden buildings.
Yeah, but I think
garden buildings.
Garden
like
buildings.
Sheds. We call them sheds.
Yeah, we call them sheds.
Garden
Sheds.
buildings.
Yeah.
He says.
My name was Shed Boy.
I was being polite.
I know.
But surely you wasn't stacked out for a year in advance then.
No, not a year, but
that was like a side thing.
Well, yeah, the sheds were a side thing. Yeah.
Well, so you've always been employed.
I worked.
Not now, obviously, because you worked.
I worked for my father for 11 years. So he owned a fence company. I worked for him, laboring. I ended up running the wood shop and the metal shop. So I worked for him. But and he would like to this day, once springtime hits, he's booked for 3 to 5 months out immediately. So like, and that's always been in my mind, like that, like booking like that. And when I started my company, I started my company and I had a 4 or 5 month project that was turning in, and then my second project was probably 8 to 10 months, and it was just immediate. And I had other stuff, and then I would put other jobs on top of that, so I was bouncing around jobs, making everyone mad. But I would always have a million things going on, so I was never looking at work that I needed for less than a few months out. I might do it. I might say, yeah, I'll do that next week, but I didn't need to do it. That I could have pushed it out.
It wasn't survival, and I feel like that's the mode when you said it's week to week. It's like survival mode.
And I'm still in that mode. I'm still in survival. I still, the scars from those days are still with me now. Like it's different parameters. Like I have we generally run at about a year wait now. This is awesome. But as soon as my schedule starts like coming down from 11 months, 10 months, I'm like game time. Like, and those I can feel the scars from the past. And I'm on it. Like every call, I'm on it. I'm like, it does home you in the thought of sort of going back there. And so obviously that was 2 weeks, and now it's 10 months, a year. It's a lovely position to be in. I'm very, very lucky, but it is a trigger. Like the scars from the past just go in autopilot, and off you go. You just start hammering quotes out.
But I also think you don't know it back then. Like if you come up, that's the best you know at the moment.
Yeah, it's fine, and it was okay.
Yeah,
I was lucky. I was learning how to run a business. I didn't have a mortgage and I didn't have kids. I was still with my missus now, but we had like a dog and we rented. It was okay. Like there's no, when I set up my building firm, and I was paying myself nothing. Like literally, the wages, there's such a gulf in wages between American and English. The numbers aren't relatable, but at the time, the going rate for like a tradesman was like 100 quid a day. I was like paying myself 40, 50 quid a day, the bare minimum that we needed to like live off. Because in my opinion, I needed to pay my dues, and I needed to earn the right to build these buildings. And like, there's no way that I was going to build up some sort of reputation by stinging people like, top dollar, when I've got no real experience in it. I'm just winging it, really. So I had to charge I earned nothing, but in the same time, I was paying myself in experience. And I get so many young guys, you guys get it on Instagram and like whatever, saying, oh, how can I go and start doing all the jobs that you do? Like, that's what I want to do. And it's just like, you're not prepared to do it. You're not prepared to go and earn nothing to build your company up. I don't see people prepared to do that now.
Yeah, I think that society as a whole, there's an immediacy, and people expect and are entitled to have what they see everyone else have right now. And they don't truly understand the amount of time, blood, sweat, tears, money that got any of us to where we are.
Tears, yeah. Like so many times where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's just a learning curve, and you hopefully do learn off all of the stresses, and like dealing with customer. We'll get stuck into that in a minute, I'm sure.
Gary, I think one of the key things you said a minute ago, though, is like the fact that you were in survival mode, and what that did to put you in a position to be so successful with your company now. And it's exactly what Tyler was just alluding to, and you were starting to comment again on. I think it's so important that everyone understands that, is that when times are rough, or it really sucks, and you do want to give up. We said that, right? I think when we started this podcast, kind of just want to give up on this every once in a while. It's it's so real.
Or once a week.
Or yeah, once a week. But it's like it's so real in the sense that that's when you're learning. You know, a couple weeks ago, I felt as though I was in a rut with some of the things that I was trying to accomplish, and I just couldn't. And I had talked to a few of my peers, and everyone gives you their opinion on it. And then I was talking to this one guy, and it was a good chat, and he hopped off the phone. We hopped off the phone, and he sent me a voice message, like a voice text back, and it was basically like, dude, I thought about a lot what you're struggling with right now, but honestly, I feel like all of this hardness that you're dealing with is right before you make a massive jump into the next step. And when he said that, I was like, you know what? I feel like that's exactly what happens. Every like John, like what you might be dealing with right now might be just leading up to the massive next step of vintage builders. And it's usually because you're going through the thick of it, and then you come out on the other side, and it's like when you're smiling, it's like, okay, that sucked, but this is great. Like now I'm in a good position. And it's unfortunately we do this, especially if you're working at a caliber that you're trying to be the very best. You're gonna hit those peaks and valleys more often than not, and it's you got to have some tenacity to see if you're going to survive through it, or if you're, I think for the majority, most give up when they're down in the ditch.
No, I said to myself the other day driving home, I'm like, I've said the last couple of years have been great, and the reality of it's been controlled chaos. And it's like, I just want to get to the next point where it's like, all right, we can now not coast, but take a breath. And that's the hardest part is, we're always kind of going, that I feel like you never get a good deep breath in. And
when you think, it's like that breath is going to come and go, and you're going to be right back into the thick of it and not even realize that yesterday was your breath.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's,
right.
and that's why I think we go through this thought process of, I want to give up once a week because this shit sucks. But it's
boys, there's no, let's be realistic. We're probably all in this for a long time now, right? But have you ever, I sometimes think about this, like, could you even get out if you wanted to? Could you even do that? I couldn't, even if I wanted to.
That's a fair question.
I couldn't even.
I feel like even.
I don't know if I want to think about that.
I could be a foot model, probably.
Really? Nice.
Maybe not.
On a podcast.
That's my exit. That's my exit plan.
Tyler's a podcast
foot modeling.
How would you go to? Because you'd have to earn money still. So how would you then go to take orders from people? How would you even destructure your company? I wouldn't even know how to do that. So it's easier for me to stay where I am.
You're right. Because I have thought of that, right? And just for,
go on. What's the answer?
No, but it's I think I go right to the financial side of it.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I financially get out? Like, do I just tell my client, like, hey, that last check is the last check, or like, it's just from a financial standpoint, like, and for anyone on the team that's listening to this podcast, I am not seriously thinking about this.
Yeah. But we're joking.
Yeah, but there
Why
has
are
been
you
times,
winking right now?
But just a little bit. Why are your fingers crossed?
But it's certainly been a thought, and Gary, you're absolutely right. It's how would forget about what I would do, because I think I don't think I'd be a great foot model, but I think there's other things that I would be good at, and I would have a lot of fun doing.
Definitely not hand model. You get that jacked up finger too.
Listen, bro.
Maybe chest hair model. I wouldn't be good at that though.
I'd go hair gel.
Yeah.
Hair gel?
Do hair gel. So
I could do that.
For the record, I've done it. I have
foot modeling?
That's great.
I
that's
had
actually
company.
So
John,
have you had your own business before? Mm-hmm. I know this is you and Benny's firm now. And prior to that, from what I've been hearing, you worked for people for a long time. But have you had a business before as well?
Yeah. So I regret even opening this up to this conversation right now.
Well, here we are.
Here we go. Go on then. How just out of interest.
How did you destructure? I guess that's the question. How did you
I bet. Oh, it might not be relevant for us guys at the minute, but there's probably loads of people that are really wishing they kept working for people, and they wish they never started their own company because, like we've all been talking about, there's times where it's absolutely crap. It's awful sometimes, like weeks and weeks of shit, and they probably just don't want to do it. So how do they get out, John? Tell them.
Well, it's tough. I mean, there's parts of this where it can suck because you stay in that survival mode. Meaning, you know, you said earlier that you've been doing, or you did the loft and you've been doing extensions and all that stuff. I found that, you know, when you get going, you might do a garage renovation or addition, and then you might do a lot more garages, and then you get these little clicks, and you might get stuck in that basement remodel click where it's always that acoustical ceiling. You know, it's not the luxurious stuff, and people get stuck in those situations, and then I think that's where you get like gutter guys, or you get guys that just, I'm going to be perfection at this one thing. But no, I mean, I had a company, and it kind of fell in my lap when I was coming out of college. I went and graduated, and I thought I was going to get a big bump. You know, I was like, finally graduated, you know, I'm going to run 5-6 guys, you know, where's my bump? I got a piece of paper now. And he was like 62 and was like, yeah, no, that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, experience means something to me. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, so nothing really? So I was like, and this is probably one of my flaws, is that I was like, all right, I'm going to put my head down, power through this, and be worth more to this person. We did that, and then probably 6 months later, it was that Christmas, and I remember talking to the guy I was working with, Dave, and we were in Norfolk. I had built the house. It's the first house I ever built in Norfolk. Whole thing. I remember I shoveled gravel for the footings, and I roofed it, everything in between, whole floor gun, the whole 9 yards. And we're there remodeling above the garage. And he's like, you know what? The owner's like, I just think I'm going to shut this down. And we're like, what's that mean? And we were a company that was kind of spread out across a bunch of jobs. Like, we'd have a kitchen remodel over here. We'd have, you know, this going on over here. So we'd be spread off across 4 different jobs at any given time. And I was like, what's that mean? And he's like, I'm just done. I'm just going to, you know, shake this out on my own. And I was like, so Monday? And we were talking about like Christmas bonuses, like what we're going to get. We're going to get like $500 cash, like what's going on right before Christmas. And he's like, so you don't come in on Monday. That's what he said to me. And I remember being like completely shocked. Like, is this a joke? Like what I had been with the guy for 7 years.
Right.
You know, and I was like, what the heck? And I remember, you know, everyone talks, maybe not everybody, but we talked always about starting a company or having this fictitious name of a company, and, you know, what would you do? What if? And so we went and picked up all our gear. Like, I had a chop saw at one job. I had other tools at another job. And every client that I went and picked up my stuff from said, just stay. We'll fire Tom and you can stay. And I was like, and then one client said, hey, you can just keep working on my house until you get on your feet, pay for your insurance. So we remodeled, like, that's the house that had the ballroom, Nick, on Otis Street in Newton. We did the ballroom, we did the whole house over, first floor. Tyler, you would have loved it back in the day if there was social. I was on my stilts that are right there, and I would skim the old plaster walls after I button screwed them all in to make them straight and true. I would skim the top half, meet the tall guy on stilts, and then my partner would skim the bottom half. And so we did every room in that house until we got on our feet. And that was probably the problem, is that I knew just enough to be dangerous. And I had confidence in what I could do with a tool belt on, but never really knew how to run a company or price a job or any of that stuff. And clients were nice to me, and I was just pricing stuff that would cover me. And that went like, I think 5.5 years, maybe 6 years. And I went from doing a couple of rooms in a house to 2,000 square foot remodels to 3,000 square foot additions to 9,000 square foot houses. And I never took my tool belt off, and I didn't know I was supposed to. You know, I thought I could just keep doing it. And looking back, that was my biggest mistake, is that you're managing it. There's just not enough time in the day. This is right when like the Trio was out. You went from Nextel to Trio, and emails and all that stuff was kind of blending the lines of communication for your clients. Like, we were always, the GC was always the guy who could never be heard from, you know, could never get a hold of him. He's always ghosting people because whatever. And so it was a straight hustle I'd do everything. I had a 16-foot trailer with everything in it. Like, Tyler, you would have loved it. It's like I used to say, I want everything because I was so sick of going to Home Depot that I would call me, tell me where to go. I'll go to your house, and then I could do anything because everything was. I had the pump station on the top of the trailer. I had gutter stuff, tile saws, the whole 9 yards. So whatever you told me to do, I could do it. And it just got to a point where I was filling my pockets with sawdust and not money, and I wasn't realizing it. And my missus at the time, it was right before, that was, 14 years ago? She's like, you need to get a real job. Like, it's not paying the bills. I got a great amount of experience out of it, and I'm Gary, as you said, I'm haunted by that experience and the lack of not seeing far enough down the road past my headlights, just see what's in front of me. That it spooks me every day. And then I shut it down. Like, we finished the last house we had. I didn't take on any more work. Told my partner that we were done. He was more of a 9-to-5 guy. I would work every day of the week. And
did you have many financial commitments back then?
Yeah, I had debt.
Like some guys now got like fucking 7 vans on lease and
no, I had
rento. It was
I
just
had I had the trailer. I had my truck, and that was it.
Amounts.
Yeah, nothing crazy. I mean, we tried to do everything with cash, and I had debt though with a construction with a lumber yard that I had gotten screwed out of a job that they had priced it out. I had a hard number from them, and then they kept dropping lumber, blah blah, and people that know me know who the company is, and I paid that debt off over the next 7 years, and that's haunted me ever since. So it's trying to keep an eye on the numbers and all that. But to basically shut it down, finished the job, got occupancy, had that phone on me. I interviewed for project management jobs, and I think I was 20 something at the time, 25, 26, I don't know. And everyone that does a podcast knows dates and knows ages. I don't get it. Like,
yeah,
really, I don't. I'm always like, should I know these?
I was 23 and a half.
Older, John.
Like, but no, I managed.
I think as you get older, you tend to forget your ages, John.
Yeah, I'm ancient. But yeah, I mean, it honestly, for the next 2 years, I felt that I gave up on something that was my name.
Yeah, there must be positives to that job. Like when you was working for other people, being that sort of site manager. Yeah, was that it?
Yeah, I was a PM. Yeah,
there must be like you must have had loads of mental space for to spend time with your family and that.
Well, that's what I used to say to people is that, hey, I'm not doing the bookkeeping. I'm not doing the carpentry. So I'm removing 5 jobs just to do one. But that wasn't the case. The same mentality held true. I was asked, will you ever find an off switch? Because it's always like I then worked for people for the next, I don't know how many years, 3, 5, 6, I don't know how many years, and I had the same mentality as if it was my own company.
Yeah, no way. Sorry, you're thick in it now. You're like thick in. You got massive jobs on. Yeah, it can't be the same. Surely it can't be the same. Like when you're maybe at home with your kids on the weekend. My mind wanders all the time. I'm like playing Barbies with Paige, and I'm like thinking about like some shit that's going on at work. I can't imagine that is a realistic thought when it's not like when you're working for someone else and it's not your money. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I 100% the same way.
Well done.
So if you left and went and did it somewhere else, would you turn it off? Would you know how to?
Gary, I think what you're trying to compare is John compared to someone that's always worked for someone. Where John is wired, I think we're all wired in a manner that this is for us. So if I went and worked for someone else, like I can promise you that I would fucking crush it. Like I would treat it as this is my own company, that the money matters. Like, and I think you would do the same.
Agreed.
Again.
You might even do better. Because you probably think clearer.
I agree. I think that there would be a tremendous amount of stuff I wouldn't have to think about, and I would be able to achieve more of what I want.
No, you know what happens is companies realize what they have, and then they bombard you with more and more stuff to take advantage of your ethic and your ethos and your drive.
That's true.
And until they burn that out and they don't compensate you for it. And I've seen it. That's why I've seen it firsthand in a number of companies that I worked for, 3 different ones. And that's why when people ask me, hey, what do I do when I'm going to work for this company? It's like, you've heard me say it. You work for a company until you're not gaining something from them. It's not an even trade anymore. If you're not gaining knowledge and a paycheck and all that stuff, and there's not a room to grow, then it's time for you to leave. It's when you get that whole person, oh, I love this person, I love that guy. It's like, no. I mean, I look back now and I go, yeah, I chalk up certain job opportunities to experience that, hey, I couldn't be the builder I am today without those 2 years there. But I've had like Kirk, I think his uncle listens to this. So, hey, and
yo, Uncle Kirk.
Yo, Uncle Kirk worked for me for, I think, 3 years. And dude, he said to me, he's like, I felt like I couldn't start my family until I left there. That's how much effort we put into that job. 7 days a week. When he left, we sat down Dunkin' Donuts, and he's like, if I am going to move up and I'm going to take your spot, I don't want that. I don't want how much you work and how much you're on. I don't want that opportunity. He goes, and then he left, got a job at a commercial company as assistant PM. Now he's a PM. He's killing it. Like the mentality of, hey, you're not just building a house. Break the house up into 3 different things, meaning the exterior is its own project, the interior is its own project, the landscape's another project, and it's a whole different mindset. And now he's excelling at it. But he goes, the amount of time that his brain was focused on the job, day in and day out during the weekend, he couldn't devote enough time to his girlfriend at the time, got engaged. He's got, I think, 2 kids now, lives in Stowe. Like, I'm so happy for him, but I'm like, did he get help? Did his life not start because of the way we worked? You get me? Like the ethics and the drive and, hey, you know what, the client's going to be home in a week, or the client's going away in a week, or, the boss is going to be back in a week, or there's always this new deadline that has nothing to do with something else, but it's creating this whole impression of drive that, like, when does it ever stop? And so I worry about that. Now it's like, do it for the right reasons. Make sure maybe it's not just giving guys bonuses. It's giving them time off, giving them whatever. It's just feeling it out. Not just taking advantage of people's ethics that they've drank the Kool-Aid.
John.
Yeah, I don't reckon anyone here would do that. And I guess when you turn into massive corporations, they probably gill you that, like, you're just a number. I think smaller setups, I think everyone's in it.
It's more than the massive corporations.
Yeah, dude. I was in a company that was like 10 deep. They had me write all the processes for their company, for Nick. They were like, oh, hey, can you write this process for, before you sign off on roughs? I'm like, yeah, no, because I would, what I do now? I sharpie everything out and do can you write that process? I'll be like, yeah, no problem. I'll do this, Again, trying to prove my value, trying to prove my wealth. And then I'd be like, all right, do that. And then, I'd create this process, and then I'd do it all. I left that company, after a year. This was like at the 08 bump where they had to let people go. And I'm like, I walk away with nothing. I wrote all these processes that this company gets to keep reusing with all their employees. And I get what? I get my LinkedIn password?
You should have saved those files locally.
Dude, I didn't know, bro. Now, everywhere I go, it's my own USB.
Yeah.
That's why I got sued for $5 million after I left my last company. So it doesn't always work, Nick.
Well, you don't talk about it. John, going back to when you worked for that guy that came in on Friday and said, hey, don't show up Monday.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Looking back at that, how do you wish that conversation happened?
What do you mean?
Like,
could I have seen it coming?
No. For him, like, say, I don't know, Jacob's listening to this podcast right now. He's like, holy shit, like, I have to go in this Friday, tell my team I'm shutting the company down. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Looking back and being in that position, being there Friday, thinking it's a joke, then realizing it's not a joke, and like your life is flashing in front of you, like, all right, I gotta pick up my tools, I gotta figure this out. Like, what do you think would have been a more appropriate way for him to let you know that he was closing up shop?
Well, I think it's the same thing that we talk about now with our guys, and I have when I've run companies, is that we devote a lot of time to people. So I devoted a lot of time to that company, 7 years
Sure.
of my life. It should have gone both ways. If I was going to go look for another job, I would have let him know way in ahead of time. You get me? Like, hey, dude, not loving the where the projects are. Let's just throw it that way. Not even money.
Yep.
Just like, hey, we're driving to Duxbury. I don't want to be doing that. Not saying I want to be compensated, but I've said that over the years, meaning, hey, if you're going to leave, give me a heads up. I'm not saying give me 6 months. Just give me a heads up as friends. You know, same difference. If I'm not happy, like same thing I said to John the other day when he's like, I'm going to come back to no job. I'm like, bro, that is never going to happen. Okay? We're going to have long conversations. We're going to find out if there's a way to ever solve this together before you ever come in and there's no job here for you. There's no place in this family for you. So I think that's, Nick, to answer your question, I'm totally fine with the way that rolled out because it's exactly the way that Tom would have rolled it out. You get me? Like he
Sure.
didn't give me a bump for college. You know, he didn't. So it was par for the course, and it was just a kick in the ass, honestly. He probably knew I didn't have the long-term staying power at that company, and this was his way of saying it.
So let's flip it. You started to touch on it. You know, if someone's gonna, you know, leave your company, and you want, like, hey, give me a heads up so I know, like, so I'm not blindsided. But this is one thing I battle with is that, you know, say they give you 2 weeks. Do you want them working the next 2 weeks?
It depends if they want to, you know?
Depends what sort of person it is.
Yeah, it totally does.
I don't know
if they're genuine.
Dude, when I
See,
left
I
my
don't
last
know if
company,
it has to
I
do with the
trained the
person.
guy that I tried to help hire and train the guy that replaced me.
I guess it's I would argue that I don't think it's the person. I think it's the reason that they're leaving.
I think it's both. I think Gary's right. I think it depends on how, if you don't see it coming, and they have legitimate like aggravation towards
Yeah.
it, then there's no point. It's going to compromise the project,
Sure.
and the bad will that they have towards you might then have osmosis towards your client or your subcontractors. That's like a virus in your company.
Yeah, I think that's very real too.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, most of the time, especially if you don't see it, I guess that's a good reference point. If you don't see it coming and it's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna give you my 2 weeks. Like at that point, like I've had the conversation, and it's, you know, and if their reason for leaving is because they're unhappy or they just don't want to be part of what we're doing, typically at that point it's, yeah, then don't worry about the 2 weeks. You know, because I feel like a lot of people, and this is a very real conversation, it's like a lot of people give the 2 weeks because they feel like that's necessary.
And their focus isn't there at that point. They're
right.
focusing
And
on the
it's
new
like,
gig.
listen, I appreciate you giving your 2 weeks, but are you doing that for my sake or yours? And if it's for mine, then let's call a spade a spade. You don't want to be here. Let's move on. My opinion of you and the support of you leaving doesn't change.
It also depends on what their role is, because
That's
as I've gotten older and been in roles of like director of operations and stuff like that, that's not a position where 2 weeks is going to cover.
Right.
You know, whatever's going to have to happen there. And the last 2 times I left the company, I left, and also kind of there was like a grace period of like a month that I would start my day at one job and then finish it at the other.
Yep.
I wasn't collecting 2 paychecks, but it was more to like, I had created a team at BGB, and to leave that, it was like clients they hired myself as the representation of that company. So if like me just to go high and dry and go away, they would be like, what's going on? But I'm not going to go to them and go, hey, I want to steal this client. I want this, this, and this. It's more to make sure that turnover is smooth. So I think it is the person.
I mean, the bigger firms are probably on national levels the minority of construction companies. Tyler's got the setup that's most relatable to most guys. Tyler, how would you deal with these? This is like you're the heartbeat of like genuine trades. Like most people are like you, like just a couple guys. That's like what most people are. How that must be like heartbreak.
So for John, what John was just referring to, I don't feel anyone within my company has a role that I need them on for longer than that to try and get somebody else. You know, it's not like you run this entire side of my company. I need you to either train somebody or get everything in order before you leave. So then I do think it comes down to your relationship with that person, what it's like at that point, and also their reason for leaving. Because if they don't want to be here or they want to leave because they're unhappy, my personality type is I don't want to make you be here. I don't want to beg somebody. I don't want to ask somebody to do anything. So if you're leaving because you are unhappy here, I would have the same conversation that Nick had, where it's like, well, then like at this point, let's just cut ties and you go do your thing, and I'll put my energy into the next step rather than putting my energy into the next 2 weeks of having you around and then trying to figure out what's going on. So I feel like I think that every situation would probably be different. I also think it's a little more personal when you're on that smaller scale of a company and somebody leaves, because your relationship with them, you've had a relationship with them. It's not like a big company or a corporate environment where the hammer could be coming down by somebody that you aren't really even, you don't know on a personal level. So I think that there's a lot more to it.
You'd probably know that conversation was coming.
Yeah, I don't think
Probably.
that a lot of times it's not a surprise. But again, like what Nick said, I believe that if you don't want to be here, I don't want you to be here for 2 more weeks for my sake.
Mm-hmm.
Nice service, John. I've just seen that. You just got a cam pass through the current here.
True. That was, hey, delegation. I also think we've all been there where someone has given their notice and then mailed it in, like someone that's going on vacation, and the week before vacation, they're totally mailed in the whole week. And yeah. I think that I've done it where I've seen that and been like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you're not helping anybody. Yeah. So I think in my end of it, it's like, I don't ever want to be seen in that light.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, not that everyone's judging me, but it's like, it's the same thing like when before I started in carpentry, I was a landscaper, and for whatever reason, when I was like 15, I was like, can I do this the rest of my life? Like, how many lawns am I going to cut straight and worry about snakes and poison ivy? Like, what is this going to get old? Like, every day, and then in the winter, praying if Mother Nature's going to drop snow or if I'm going to collect unemployment? I'm like, I'm not the brightest bulb. I've never been like awesome in school, but like, it didn't take a lot for me to be like, I don't see it. I don't see the long road here. I just see it bumpy, dirty, and like going nowhere. And that's when I was like, you know what? I like this old house. Let me try to build some stuff.
Nick, have you still got 2 phones?
I do, but it's dead.
One's for porn.
I've got 2.
Say one's for porn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's dead.
I've got 2, but it's not for porn.
Do you use them? Do you separate it?
Yeah. So if I'm being honest,
No, lie to me.
No, I never turn my work phone off, but I don't. But evenings and weekends, I don't have it on me. I will leave it at home. I will.
Yeah. That's how I
like.
was.
Yeah. I like walk past it and like I'll like press
Tap
it
the screen,
and like see what's going on, and I hope that there's nothing to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it came down to, and we kind of dug into this. It started with Patterson's podcast, and then someone else we talked about it. I forget who.
Patterson is a rock star.
Yeah, I mean that dude has
hype man.
Yeah,
that was the best.
That is the best listen. Honestly, the best listen ever. He had to be gripped.
Back on. I just want to talk for 2 hours about that farmhouse.
I want to do it at his farmhouse.
Yeah, we'll do it at his farmhouse. Yeah, I think we'll probably take a helicopter there. The phone. So what it came down to, and my realization was that I was basing my decision on getting a second phone on 2 clients out of the 170 something clients we've had, and that was unfair because one of our biggest clients to date didn't like the fact that they couldn't get in touch with me. God forbid something happened. And and they're amazing clients, and they're amazing people, and they would never reach out to me for anything besides something very serious on after hours. And I realized that this is unfair to them. This is what I signed up for, so it's up to me to moderate. But going back to last week's podcast, learning not to take things, Gary, you haven't heard it yet, but we talk a lot about not taking things personally. And all week I've been thinking about that.
How'd you do that? I can't do it. Even if
great
they're criticizing,
Great question.
even if they're criticizing something the guys have done, I'm like, okay.
Listen.
So is the phone a write-off right now that you can't give up?
Me?
Yeah.
I have no idea. It literally just sits on my desk dead.
Same.
I'm sure.
Wait, so I've been texting your personal phone with no response?
No. If I'm not responding, no, it goes. This phone, my work phone, gets both numbers.
Oh.
Have I not responded to a text?
I don't know.
Oh.
I would just. I feel like I like now go on my phone and depending on the time and day, text you on two different numbers.
Oh no! Everything comes to one phone. The other phone is only my personal.
Oh.
But I'm just at this point. It just doesn't I don't use it. But I was doing the same thing, Gary. It would be both phones would stay on, but when I went out with the family, I'd have only the personal. But at this point, no one's texting me anyway. And if it's a client that's texting me at night, it's like to John's point, it's because that's the only time they had. And
I feel like what the
It
phone
depends
did
on the client.
What getting the other phone did for me, exactly the same, Nick. I got it for the minority. There, I had a couple bad clients around the same time.
And it was because I was taking them personally.
Yeah, and what it did for me was I just learned that if I get those customers again, I'm just gonna stand up to them a bit better.
Yeah.
I'll just say, look, stop messaging me at night. It's rude. If you just say that to them, they probably would stop. But I didn't. And they kept doing it.
It wouldn't even be that. It would be they would send an email questioning something. I don't know, hey, why is this why are you invoicing for this? It's now they're questioning everything I've done and why they're not comfortable paying that. I'm not going to get paid. And
that's just when they reviewed it. It's when they had time to review it.
Right.
Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
Some customers are just annoying.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and
that's
entitled.
We work for we provide a service.
We signed up for it. So at this point, it's I have one phone and I just moderate. When I'm with the kids, I'm not playing. I don't play with my phone because I don't want Marley being like dad. That drives me crazy.
Dude, they'll do it without a phone.
That being said,
that's fine. But I don't want.
I'm at the pool. Dad, I'm still looking at you. I haven't taken my eyes off you. Okay?
I just don't want my kids looking at me thinking that the phone is an attention suck, that I care more about the phone.
No,
and
true.
Whether or not that's a real thing or not, that's my opinion on it. I want my dedication to be with my family. Yeah, when I'm sitting on the couch at night after the kids go down, I might scroll through my phone. And but the reality is I'm gonna I actively try to put it down, and just not and not engage with it because it's I'm on it all day.
I don't think that I mean, I certainly didn't sign up for customers who treat me that way.
No way. Agreed.
We're in a service industry. One of the biggest issues I have with that is the way that I treat people in the service industry. I think some of our customers don't do the same. And the customers that get under my skin, I think to myself, if this were the other way around, and one of their customers were getting a hold of them off hours, would they respond? And a lot of times I don't think that they do. And I think those are the customers that can rub you the wrong way. But I think that those bad customers, that's just who they are.
It is a bit different though, in the sense that if you were getting a service, if you would treat someone providing you a service like that, but you're probably not paying them $100,000.
Yeah, but at the same time, if they spent that, go out to a restaurant and you pay whatever amount that is, you're not spending 4 months at that restaurant.
Exactly.
So it shouldn't be $100,000. Like I don't even, I don't necessarily know if it's the dollar value on that. I just think that, that same person treats their mail person the wrong way. They don't say thank you when somebody lets them cross in front of them. Like, that's just the people that they are. And I don't want my customers to be like that. I don't want those relationships. And it is extremely difficult to get away from them and shut those people off. And
have you developed like a system, or are you just
ignore
really
them. Just ignore them.
Like to vet those clients.
I try, but like they slip
what's your
through.
like alert? What's your warning signs?
They slip through. I think that up front you try and sort out and spend enough time up front to see that person's personality and get into those details. And I think normally through the design process you can kind of sniff that out. But then getting into somebody's house can be a different experience. And some people, there's different stages of the job that people react differently, or they're emotionally connected to the job at that point, or something that they wanted can't be done, or I think that it's all different. But I feel like being in a service industry doesn't give somebody the right to be a jerk to you, get a hold of like the stuff that you're texting me at 10:30 at night on a Friday night when I just told you that I'm leaving to go out of town for a week. That doesn't need to happen. That there's a million ways that you can go about that, where that I'm on my phone, where you don't need to be getting a hold of me. And it's not an emergency. Your house isn't burning down, something's not leaking, what color fan you want is not something that you need to be bothering me. It doesn't matter how much money you're paying me. And I think that's just personality. I think that person feels entitled because they're paying you a certain amount of money, that you're basically enslaved to them until you're done.
Mm. Yeah.
But I think that you just, in that case, like Nick said, there's a couple of customers. I think that the easier option may just be to set up boundaries for each and every customer on whatever level you see that necessary or see fit at that point, where if this customer wants to text you after hours and it's because that's when they have time to do it, then maybe, hey, that I don't have time to do it then. So let's sit down on Monday morning and go over everything, and set up those boundaries where we're not going to. And if they do text you at that point, like our conversation last week, where the guy just doesn't send the emails out until the next morning.
It's great that you even consider their circumstances is great. I wish I could have time to consider. That's lovely that you actually can think, this is the only time that they can eat. This, I wouldn't even think that.
Yeah, I don't know. I also feel like
it's a lovely way to. It's a lovely way to be. I'm just always like, you idiot.
Yeah, I mean, John said that. I don't personally think, I wish I did think like that a lot, but I also feel like, if I were hiring somebody to do something for me, I would also understand that even if I'm paying you, you're still helping me in a way. You're providing a service that I don't have the ability to provide for myself. So I want to work with you, and I want to work with your schedule. And I'm not just going to be like, well, this is when works for me. If you want to get your hair cut, and well, I have an opening at 4:30. Well, 4:30 doesn't work for me. I can't commit at 4:30. Well, you have to make that work on your end as well. I think that's the relationship.
But there's so many things that we do repetitively, like get a haircut, that we've learned at such a young age. This is something that a lot of people don't embark on. And for them to do it the first round through,
they make a lot of mistakes.
We see it all the time, so we get to see when it starts to go sideways and go, I don't know what's going on, or what are they bringing home? Right now, I could see it happening more often because it's super stressful. Stock market's changing, COVID. Are they working from home? School. All this stuff, and it's you know what? I said it when I was super young to guys. Is that when I was managing guys? Is that, hey, you'll be a punching bag. At any given time during this project, you will be a punching bag, and how you deal with that in a professional manner, they will realize, this is how I thought back then, they will realize how they treated you, and they will gain respect for you, and they should apologize. But if you take it in a defensive manner, whatever they got yelled at work, the TPS report was late, whatever it was that they brought home, or their wife, or whatever, how it's shaken out, you'll be a punching bag because you're there for 10 months straight. You're always there. And ideally, it should be a cool relationship, but I think it's up to us to curate it, because a lot of times these people have never done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll generally find people. Sorry. I generally find people respond well to in our contracts. I'll put a bit in there, like title communication, and I just say, look, I'm available any day, really, but between 8 and 5. Like I'll make time around you to do that for sure. Any other meetings outside of that, I'm not actually gonna I'm not gonna charge them. I'll put in there that they are chargeable meetings, but if it's 1 or 2, I'm not gonna care about that. But generally, I'll find people once they read that, they're pretty cool with it. They do, if they know that's the rules. Most people are quite respectful of them most of the time.
But dude, they're giving us their biggest investment, and they're using their entire life savings.
Yeah,
it is, but I still don't feel like that gives anyone.
No, I'm not saying it gives them the right to do anything, Tyler. I'm just saying, imagine giving all that up. Not giving up one of those items would be insane to kind of lose control of. Tyler, you won't give up demo, bro.
But
it's like think about how it could impact their decision making.
I agree completely, but I don't think no matter how much money is in exchange, that you're hired to provide a service. And I think that if you provide that service and you fulfill what you have to, and you show up and you're the best person that you can be, I don't feel like you owe it to somebody to say, hey, I'm going to be a punching bag for you because I'm in your house. Like, that's just not right. No matter who it is in your life, whether it's your husband, your wife, a friend, somebody who hired you, it's like going out to eat and bitching at the waiter or the waitress because your food came out wrong, or it wasn't hot, or it wasn't cooked right. I think that there's a way, a place, and a time to approach that. And it doesn't matter if your meal was $5 or $500. I don't think that gives you the right to treat somebody that way. And I
totally
think that's just that's that person, that's that person's issue. And I think that's where it comes in, where you shouldn't be taking that personally. I don't think we make enough money to be somebody's punching bag like that. And I know it's not a financial thing, but I think that people need to realize in a service industry that although it may not be perfect and there's mistakes that are made and things happen and you don't always have the best day and some people don't show up sometimes, that you're trying to do the best that you can, and that you don't need to treat somebody like crap just because you hired them to do something.
I agree with all that. I think take the job part of it away and the money. There's friends that we've had, in our lives that you've been a punching bag for, or a sounding board, and it's come across in a bad way, but it doesn't mean you're not friends anymore. I've been there where someone had to get something out and it came out the wrong way, and I was just a friend and I was there to be there for them. And sometimes that's what happens. And I think that's that whole, forget the service comment. It's, you're in a relationship, and it comes and goes and it ebbs and flows. And I think I'm not saying it's okay to be a punching bag. I think as being someone that's managing guys and girls that are in houses, that to be aware of it, not to be shocked by it, but to understand that how do you handle it when it happens, that this is what's going to roll out. And as the professional there that's been through this, you should be aware that this could happen.
Yeah,
for sure. I
still don't like the feeling of going to bed thinking about the email they just sent me. It still kind of bugs me.
I know.
No,
but
I think that's one of the most difficult aspects of our job is to handle, and that's something that can't really be taught. And you have to learn that and be in that position, and you have to you have to grow into that role, and sometimes
Yeah.
it happens and sometimes it doesn't, and you take one step forward and 2 steps backwards. There's sometimes that it blows my mind that when you say, I want to be a contractor, I want to sign up for construction, I want to have my own company, that like that's what we all, with everything else that we're dealing with, we now have to deal with that too. Like, your heart surgeon's not dealing with that, and he's saving your life, you know, or you're paying him how much money. But we have, like, as contractors, we have to deal with that. Like, we have to be the therapist, and we have to understand how to work with each different personality. That sometimes, well, a lot of times, still blows my mind.
Totally.
I don't know. I don't think there's I
Well,
like
everyone's different, isn't they?
yeah, I like the idea of setting, you know, Gary, you said, like, you kind of set it up right from the beginning and just say, this is when you can contact me. But for the other side of it, it's like, or don't tell them. Just just say, hey, contact me whenever you want, but I'm just going to get back to you when I want.
Yeah, basically, that's basically what it says, you know. This is my working time. You can feel free. It doesn't say that, but if they want to send me emails or texts out of those time, they can. But I probably won't get back to them until the next day.
Here's kind of how I'm thinking, and I don't want this to come off as like being deceitful, but it's like in the sales process. You know, if it's too structured on when someone can contact you, they're going to be turned off.
Yeah.
Where instead it's like, if in the honeymoon phase, the sales process, whatever you want to call it, it's like, you know, or, you know, contact me anytime. Here's my cell, call, text, whatever. You're not saying that they can that it's free. You're just saying that, like, you're that you're going to get back to them. You're just saying, here's my direct communication. Where, and this is what, like, and I'm just kind of diarrheaing my thoughts on this, because I think about this a lot. And, you know, they want to at least feel as though they have the opportunity to connect with you at any time. But to Tyler's point, that doesn't mean it's disrespectful. Like, a late text is fine.
No,
doesn't mean I'm going to get back to you. But if you're a bitch, then that's different.
You're a bitch no matter what time you text me.
I agree.
No, I mean, I had a situation once where, you know, during hockey season, I was coaching, so I'm off the ice for an hour. My phone's in my bag. I remember I got off the ice, and it was like, there was like 3 texts, and it was like, your high school girlfriend. Like, it was like, hey, what's going on with this thing? And then it was like, you're not going to respond? Really? Like, in 3 different texts? And it's like, yo, I put my phone down for an hour. like, did you read your text stream? But the other part of it is, if I put that in a contract, I would also have to follow those same rules, and I don't.
Sure.
And you have to leave it. You have to kind of leave it as open to your discretion.
Yeah, because I mean, there's nights where I'm like still so dialed in on the project that I'm like, yo, what about this?
Answers,
and I'm like, and it's just, you're humming along, so that you can't just pick when you turn it on and off.
Sure.
And I think, but I also think it's like, it's weird. Like, I don't send invoices on a Friday. Like, that's normally when things go up, but I'm like, do I want to get an invoice on a Friday? Would I rather get one on a Tuesday? You know, Tuesday's middle of the week. It's not going to ruin my weekend. Like, this dude fucks up my weekend every weekend with a $170,000 invoice I got to review.
What jobs and who do you have in your life?
Am I wrong?
No, it's true that you can call somebody and have the ability to get a hold of somebody 24/7, even in the case of an emergency.
No, you're
like,
right.
It's crazy that that's on us. And yeah, we're working on somebody's house, but like, what if my car blows up? I can't get a hold of the dealership at 11. Like, it's an emergency. I'm in the middle of nowhere, but I got to figure somebody else to call.
So
I can't get a hold of like my doctor after hours. I can't get a hold of the grocery store after hours. It's an emergency. I'm starving.
I think it's us. I think it's us. I think it's how we want to portray. I think there's a lot of contractors and builders that listen to this. Yeah. And they shut their phone off.
Yeah. I know a lot of my older subs do. Like, I'll text my plumber after hours, dude. Nothing.
Nothing.
Not even like an acknowledgement till the next day, where I guess he's just dealt with it for so long that he's like, all right, I'm burnt from this. I'll get back to you. It can wait.
No, it's his flip phone and he doesn't even get text.
Probably.
Somebody check my computer.
I think for most guys, I think if they're conscientious, this probably isn't a massive issue. Like, it used to be a bigger issue for me than probably what it is today. Like, the communication. I think the reason why we're talking about it is that a lot of guys do suffer with dialogue between clients. Maybe there is no right or wrong. Well, there clearly isn't, because we're all probably disagreeing here in some respect. But you know, for me, like that little time frame it has reduced the anxiety for me, not totally. And at the same time, I don't mind the odd email, providing it's said in the right tone, for sure. For me, that's
fucking
okay.
Tone sucks with email and even text. Tone's like fucking, like, unless it's followed by an emoji. Dude, like, well, I have no idea what the tone is.
Yeah, is that a sarcastic emoji?
What's that?
Is it a sarcastic emoji, or are you being for real right now?
John, how would you read like texts? Do you read them in like an angry voice or a happy voice?
Oh, I read John's text always like that he's super aggradated. I'm like, why is he all the time?
God. You know who also said that? It was Amy Lynn. She'd always read into my text, and I'm like, I'm doing 17 things at once. The fact that I responded, just take that.
Yeah, I appreciate your response. I'm just like,
no, but
you could add an exclamation point.
Dude, I usually drive like
up.
17. I'm writing the website, and my wife's rereading it all for me, and I'm like, hey, whatever you do, you can take it down from 6 to 3 exclamation points. Otherwise, people won't get my energy. And she's like, seriously? Like, it's still gotta be me. But no, I mean, I reread a lot of text because I know I can come off short. Mm-hmm. So it's not height-wise, Tyler. It's just like, I want to make sure that I have it where I'm like, hey, is it the right way written? You know?
I'm gonna throw this out. I have it in front of me here. So a friend of mine told me about this website, and going to emails, we've talked about tone in email, and there's this website, liwc.wpengine.
Hold on, people are driving.
Oh, fuck me. Slow down.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, LIWC.
LIWC dot WPengine.com. So it's the linguistic something. I don't know.
It came up on mine.
All right, so.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So you have to buy into it. It's basically all this stuff. But if you scroll down to the bottom, it says "give it a try," and then it gives you an opportunity to say, what is this? Personal letter, professional correspondence, etc.
Type or paste in a text.
Type it in there, and you analyze it. And what's really cool is like, because this in like commercial, like we've hired a couple people from commercial construction, and their emails are so rigid. I'm like, guys, we have a little
personality.
Yeah, personality. So I've used this before. It's like it will help you kind of understand how your email is coming off, and it will tell you if there's more negative than positive in it, if you're talking too much about yourself instead of them. It's not super detailed, but it gives you a good quick snapshot of what that email looks like. And I had read one the other day, and Liz will listen to this. So we took Liz's email and threw it in here, and I was like, it's kind of rigid. It's commercial, but we dumped it in. I'm like, hey, you're good. Your negative is under. We're all set. It was very personal, but it's a cool tool, and I wanted to mention it. And I knew people were going to ask for the website, so I wanted to make sure I pulled it up. And I never bought into.
I just cut and pasted a text into it.
Yeah. So what's if you do that, it's going to give you this analysis.
What's the website again?
liwc.wpengine.com.
Your text sample. Your text sample is 33 words.
What's the text that you put into it?
I took a client text that I sent the client.
Right. I definitely typed that in wrong. And
then I cut and pasted it and put it in. I words 3, social words 6,
and it gives you average,
positive,
what it should
positive be. Emotion 3, negative emotion 0.
There you go.
Cognitive process 12.1. What the hell? Analytic,
Oh, nice.
79.2.
No negative emotions.
Clout,
Happy days.
27.
Yeah, what is
What's
clout?
clout?
I don't know.
I'm not-
Like when you
Authenticity, 98.
Yeah.
Emotional tone, 80.6.
Clout is a heavy blow with the hand or a hard object. Nope, wrong one. Influence or power.
Yeah,
Clout
like
is to
doing
influence
power.
or power. So
Interesting website.
yeah, it was an interesting tool, and I certainly don't use it that much. But when
But imagine responding to an email you receive on Friday night, just saying, "I've just put your email in ICW," and I had far too much negative.
Nick been doing it for the last week. He's been cutting every text.
your sales email has a high clout. Now I understand why I'm buying it.
So
Well,
my
I think
text I
it's-
sent was an. Good.
No, I was just gonna say it's an interesting tool, and like I said, I don't know about the commercial version or academic version, but I think it helps you kind of, it just makes you more aware about what you're typing, especially in a professional email. That for us, I want it to come off personal. I want it to, there's certain. Here's another little tip. Okay.
Oh.
Using the word "you" within like the first 3 words, rather than saying, "I just wanted to check in. How are you doing?" is when someone reads the word "you" and they immediately feel as though they're being spoken to, they react to the rest of that text far more positively.
How about you? I just want to check in.
But when you put when you're not presenting something to them as this is what I need, it goes right into talking about them. It's just we learned this, actually Doug brought it up. It actually helps you rank on YouTube better. But from when I started reading into it, and if you go back to some of my Instagram posts, you'll see like how people say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" People subconsciously stop, and Tyler, I know you're gonna have a wise ass remark on this, but like you subconsciously stop because it's like you feel as though you're being asked personally, and then you're more apt to stop and comment on it rather than say, "I love how this detail came out. What do you think?" Where it's like you're immediately connecting with them and they're feeling. It's like a subconscious thing. I feel like I'm going down this I'm not a linguistic expert by any means. I've just learned these
He's a
little
YouTube
tips
guru.
Yeah.
I'm not. I would love to be a YouTube guru. It's like we're on this like slow climb on a hill.
No, the text I put in was a text update to a client that were waiting on a permit, and to try and get ahead of it. It was like 7:30, and I threw it together. So that's what came to mind is like something I hadn't really thought about, but I know I wanted to get it out to somebody before my day kind of started cranking out, and I think it's a cool little site. I'll probably
It's
throw
cool to
some
run a
stuff in
few
there.
things by it, like just especially when you have to write a hard email, like a tough email. Like maybe you have to break some news that you're behind schedule or over budget, or I don't know. Like presenting it the right way can helps.
Well,
like
I think
no matter what way you shake it, if you can present that in a way that they feel as though they're heard before you just say, "Hey, we're over budget." When they feel as though they're heard and they're understood, that you like this isn't like that you equally feel the pain from this, not just the fact that it is what it is.
So that leads me like John, my guy John's been doing more for like client stuff, and we're going over something that's a change order, and he's like, "Oh, should I just send that as an email?" And I'm like, "No." It's like, when does it? I feel like this world is more digital, where it's all email and that stuff based. And I get I have to follow up with an email with numbers for a change order and all that stuff, but I think that those discussions still should be face to face if they can.
I totally agree, John. Yeah, for sure.
Because if I'm gonna invest that kind of money, it's the same rationale around the phone. Is that like if I want my personal time and they're putting this massive investment into me, I should put it into them. Is how I think. And then when it comes down to making a change, the easy way out, and this is how I felt my entire life, because it was always the easier route. Like when I had a job at Encore, there was another PM in the desk right behind me. He'd do everything via email. I'm like, no, I'm gonna go meet that client, and I'm gonna go over it with them, understand that I'm devoting time to them, because the summary is the easy part. Why would you put the summary in front of the understanding them, seeing it in their eyes, see what their concerns are, all that stuff. And those are clients that I still am in contact with today.
Yeah.
I do it that way.
How about, so what I typically do is when we run into something before I leave from the day, we'll go over what we ran into, what I think the potential solutions could be, and then circle back with an email with more specifics and possibly a dollar value at that point, so I'm not really shooting from the hip.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because I think that I like to make sure that people are aware of what's going on. But if I don't have an answer, I learned early on that just sometimes people even ask me, what's your opinion on what we do here? And I just tell them, I'm going to kind of gauge what's going on, inventory the existing conditions, take some notes, take some pictures, and then I'll get back to you with some options or solutions. Because I think a lot of times as soon as you open your mouth, they hang on to that.
Yeah,
and then like you set the basis, and then anything that you change from there, well, you said that we could do this, or you said we could do that, or it was only going to be this much.
The worst line ever is, I'm not going to hold you to this.
Yeah.
Client. It's like, all right. I don't, like, and
then they call 6 other people. They're like, this guy said he could do it for this much.
Yeah. No, it is tough. It's a tough game. I mean, to understand how it's super emotional. You have to be a very good communicator, almost over communicate.
I think I might shut it down.
John.
That was me Friday.
How many texts or emails do you send before you even leave the house in the morning?
I'd probably say 30. Before I even get out of bed.
I can't do it in bed. I can't even open my eyes in bed. I've got to have a drink first.
I'll get up at 5, sit in bed.
You drinking beer in the morning?
No, just a coffee.
Oh.
I know John don't do coffee, sorry.
That's all right. Each their own. No, I mean, I just kind of hammer through a bunch of stuff. Whatever's on my mind, I'll write them all and send them out.
That's crazy.
Is it like a roller coaster?
I usually don't get to any of that stuff until I'm like out of the house.
Yeah.
I just think once I start going in the morning, I wouldn't stop. So it's easier just to like get everything in order, get out of the house, and then start working.
Yeah, I find as soon as I get in my van, I don't have any time really throughout the day to stop and do that.
Yeah, that's why. It's easier than I just don't have to do it ever.
I hop in my truck and then I'll sit there idling for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Catching up on things and then I take off.
Or even when I get to the job, I'll sit in my van for 5-10 minutes before I walk into the job at that point and get some things done. But yeah, once I start, it's hard to stop.
I'll tell you what a game changer for me was, because I don't know about you, but throughout the day, if I'm doing a bit of driving around, things come to you as you're driving, and you're not in a position to like an ever evolving to-do list that you never get to the bottom of it, but things will pop in your mind. John, you're always wearing an Apple Watch. Do you save reminders in there?
I only wear that when I run.
Mate, I use my watch. It's like my personal PA.
Bro.
So if I'm driving, I'll just like tell it to remind me to do something, and it makes like a ever evolving to-do list. It's like my lifesaver.
How's that work? It just puts it in like a
when's
it remind you? Do you have to set like an alarm for it to remind you?
Yeah, sure. So look, I'll just hit it now. I'll be like, remind me to send the invoice tomorrow morning before 9. Right? And then done. It was just right.
Wait,
yeah.
You guys have a guy? Ours is a girl in the US.
Yeah, guy, yeah.
So when you drive, you put one hand on your watch and hit the
traffic lights.
Wait, I'm confused at why is it a guy over there?
I've never heard of a girl.
Gary picked it.
Every time that I try and talk to my phone, it just jacks up everything that I'm saying. Is the watch better? Because I feel like I can even anything I try and talk to my
New
phone.
Jersey accent.
Dude, it has to be. I'll
Boston's
sit there,
awesome.
And then I try and talk slower, and then I talk louder, and then I put the phone in different directions, and I'm like, this is more dangerous for me to try and voice text and then go back and change individual words than just text it myself.
Meg does the same thing. She talks like a robot. I'm like, just talk. It's designed to understand when you talk normal.
To learn.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, Alexa, will you play this? I'm like, what?
Alexa's like, shut up.
It's like, just tell me the song.
Talk normal.
Dude, my kids scream at Alexa, and then Tilly talks funny, and she's trying to tell Alexa what to do, and Alexa doesn't hear. Then Selby goes to help her, and she's like, no, I want to say it. And then basically punches her in the face, and then they start fighting, and I'm like, I just rip Alexa out of the wall. Nobody gets to play with Alexa.
Everyone's Alexa's going nuts. Alexa, play The Modern Craftsman.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, Gary, this was awesome, man. Appreciate you hanging out.
Already over?
I know it's late.
Yeah, it is. We were on 1:20 now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm knackered.
Yeah, dude.
But I was saying to Nick before you guys come on that when you guys said it was well, for me, my notification comes up at 11. I was like quite relieved. I thought this could have been literally in the middle of the night, which I was prepared to do because why not?
It's amazing. But hey, we're going back. I don't wear my watch because I feel like it's a distraction when I'm talking to a client. Like I won't take my phone out of my pocket when it's on silent, when it's in my pocket. But when I'm talking to a client and my watch keeps going off, I then have to have this debate in my head that are they looking at me? When they're not looking, then I look at my watch. And it's like, I don't want to have that. So I literally...
Just bang it in airplane mode. It takes 2 seconds.
But I just don't want it going off on my wrist all the time. So I literally leave it at home. And I only wear it on a run.
It helps me just to stay on top of... That's the only reason I really wear it. It's just to stay tracking my calories. And to remind me that I've got loads of shit to do.
Gary, I have one last question before you can go to bed.
Oh no.
I said I would ask it on last week. Why are you guys so anti wood framing?
Hold
on, pause. Is that the question you thought I was going to ask? Because you seemed awfully nervous when I started that.
No, I thought it was going to be something about the British accent or something like that.
No.
Okay, so...
Because you guys are primarily masonry.
Yeah. I was going to touch on it earlier. We didn't really get around to it. Yeah, we're sort of... I love masonry. It's just like it does the job and it lasts forever, like for ages. So okay, I don't have anything personally wrong with timber frame. They go up so much faster. They're fun to do. They're like you can be more creative with shapes and things like that for sure. I just don't feel we are educated and good enough in them to make them genuinely sustainable buildings, if I'm being honest. I mean, you boys do it all the time, and I see when you had the science lady on. I've seen some of her posts, and she was into so much detail about flashings and things like that. It's just like that seems so complicated.
Sure.
Like for what we do, we build a cavity wall, and there's like it's moisture bulletproof. It's like so solid and. It's like we're all geared up for it. Like for us to we pour the foundations, we get out the damp course, then we just build walls, and it just works for us. And we got the peace of mind that in 15 years' time, in really bad storms, we're probably not going to get any rot and things like that. You probably don't have any concerns about what you build because you're really good at it. But England is really, really wet as well. That probably doesn't help. It's really all the time raining.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably got something to do with it.
It's funny. A few people have commented. A few British guys said that we're a bunch of idiots over here, and masonry is the way to build. I was like, that's kind of an aggressive comment, but all right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've done timber frame extensions loads. We've done them loads in the past. In fact, there was a period 2 or 3 years ago where we probably preferred doing that. But I'll probably edging more down the route of masonry again. If I could toss a coin, I'd be 51% in favor of masonry, 49%. It's like dead heat. I personally don't have any major preference to the other, but you know what? It's like you get the dinosaurs here, and they refuse to change, because everything's going steel now in the UK. And anyway, all the bigger houses are all steel frame houses now. So that's probably the next evolution of it, and we just have to learn one way or the other. But yeah, I'll be masonry probably for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you know much about it?
About
Like
masonry
masonry
for sure?
walls? Yeah.
I think I do, but elaborate.
Yeah, so we would build generally all the houses that we would build, and it's a traditional strip foundation, dig down to hard ground, fill it up with concrete, and then we would just build a 4-inch block, a 4-inch cavity, and another 4-inch block. In that cavity, we use a 60 mil, like a rigid insulation, like Celotex. Yeah, you familiar? Like PIR, like PIR board. Like foiled insulation. It's rigid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would sit against the inner leaf of the extension. Okay, so then you've got a 50 mil clear gap between the back of the outside block and the insulation. So water will get through the first block and it'll run down the back edge of the block, and everything just goes down to the foundation level. No vapor it's physically impossible. Water can't jump. Physically impossible to get through to the inner block. That's why all our windows are fitted on the exterior leaf. So again,
Never gets in.
Even if water does get past that, it doesn't matter because there's a cavity wall there. It doesn't matter. It can't get through.
Where's your
Basically
window?
create a drainage plane.
Windows
On the
are fitted
outside.
to the exterior leaf, and then
They don't have
I know
windows.
what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. So inside, what spans the cavity?
Yeah.
So we use it's like a plastic insert that will clip in the cavity. Again, plastic. So you can't penetrate plastic with water. So the cavity acts like a damp proof again on the reveals, and then you'd stick your plasterboard because you guys do all like timber casing for your windows. We plaster right into the windows as a sort of standard thing. All our reveals are plastered with a traditional sail board of some sort.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a question from the survey. Stuff you wish you told yourself when you started out.
Run.
More? Not weight. I'm losing weight. Run. Good call.
Oh, different kind of run.
Okay. That's what great.
Is this to everyone or just to Gary?
Everybody. Screw it.
Yeah, thank God. Tyler, you go first. Let's think.
I'll just say whatever he said.
What do I wish that I told myself when I first went into business?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've got it. Got mine.
all right, go.
You go.
Okay, just don't run. Don't run before you can walk. Yeah, if you know what I mean. Like, it's so easy.
That was really
see,
cliche.
Yeah, but it's so true. Yeah,
Why you
like
knock
it's
the kid down?
I'm not
it's
knocking it
so
down. I'm just doing
easy
mine.
to see other people's work on Instagram and their awesome websites and their portfolios and seeing that's what I'm going to do. But you really need to learn your limitations and just stay in your lane until you build up enough skills to make that jump.
That's fine.
Because if you make the jump too soon, you're going to end up with a lot of stress and unnecessary stress. So I would just say, just take baby steps, just do it, just take your time, and you know when you're ready to make those jumps.
Yeah, I
Tyler,
think-
it doesn't need to be everybody because we'll probably ask this every week.
Nice.
Just for the guests. We got them. We got them.
got it.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers,
Happy
Gary.
days.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
man.
man.
Great. Guys, I'm a massive fan. Really appreciate, I just love it. And you guys offer so much to everyone, including myself. You guys inspire me all the time, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for staying up late.
Yo,
Yeah,
did you start
no.
your podcast yet?
It's on. I'm on it.
Yeah? I like the
well,
logo. Logo is tight.
Yeah, it's cool. Again, I feel like there's definitely a audience for it here. Similar. I mean, again, you guys are inspiring. If I can sort of, bring a little bit of that over here, then cool. It's something that I've got a little studio set up. I'm just in the middle of. I just want to just get the equipment set up now. Maybe you guys could help me out with that with a bit of advice.
Yeah, shoot me a DM. I'll send you a link to all the equipment we have.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be good quality, and that's probably why I haven't jumped into it, John, because I really want it to be good.
Yep.
I don't want it to be like half-hearted. You hear all these, crappy podcasts and that just aren't the quality, and and I actually haven't doing it over Zoom like this. It's because a lot of people in the UK probably probably I'm right down the south, so people probably will travel to see me to do it. But this works out great.
Mm-hmm.
Do most of your podcasts go over like
2 to 3 hours?
Zoom? Yeah, but do they go over Zoom, or because a lot of them you have in the studio, or
No,
No,
mostly.
Everything's Zoom at this point.
Yeah,
Which has worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's easier to do for you probably as well, isn't it? Like you don't have to like Tyler's just chilling, John's chilling. Nick.
Oh, it's just tough. I mean, as everyone knows, I jump on people's conversation because it's tough. You don't want to have dead air, so you're trying to anticipate when that person's done, and it's tougher to. Maybe it's harder because there's 4 of us on here, but yeah. Either way, hey, get started, and it'll sort itself out.
You guys can help me out, get it started, yeah?
Damn right.
Yeah, you need to get some like good English, like get Adele on your podcast.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Do that. She's lost a lot of weight.
yeah.
Yeah.
She looks good.
Get the Beatles on there.
Whatever floats your boat.
So how can we find you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Kelly at Kelly Construction UK on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. Got a killer website.
OnlyFans?
What'd you say? OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Anyone trolls, they're all welcome. You know, I embrace trolls. I embrace like criticism on all the platforms where I love it. I'm there for the ride. I'll put all my work out there to be because I'm proud of it first and foremost, but also to learn. Like I want to learn every day. So if people's got a better way to do things, just let me know.
Hell yeah, man. Well, again, I appreciate you hanging out.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Pleasure, guys.
Get
Thanks,
some
bud.
rest.
Bye. Yeah, cheers.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, we got some reviews. I'm gonna pick a rando. Great content. All 5 stars. Really good. Anything with John's name in it? Damn it, no.
Just
All right,
search
great
it.
content.
There is one.
Love the
There is
podcast.
one.
Is there?
I'll find it.
I love how much John
Oh,
cares.
Salty John, CM155. Great podcast, but man, John is so arrogant in most of them, and always so salty towards other people's success. Tyler and Nick, they're awesome. Feel bad for John's subs and clients that have to deal with them.
Feel bad
Laughing
for
face
John
emoji.
subs.
Yo, send that dude
No.
a hat.
We're not sending those guys hats anymore.
So
Oh,
funny.
We're not?
Because guess what? I'm sending them out, so I'm not rewarding these guys.
Hey, I triple dog dare you to send him a hat with a thing of salt.
Yo, what are you eating?
Salt.
Chicken Caesar wrap
All right,
Man,
I'll
who
get
made
one
that?
more
Is
in
that
here.
is that from Grubhub?
down the street. No.
A Dent 02. You guys keep talking. I'm going to read a review.
I called the
Love
guy.
podcast.
I called the
Gives me
guy.
something
Supposed to be a
look
Natick.
forward to every. I can't do this. I can't talk. Gives me something I look forward to every Monday. I have learned quite a bit from the content you provide. I am young and haven't been in the carpentry world for long. I do primarily trim, but hearing and learning about how to build more efficient homes. Thank you for providing awesome content. So, you guys know the usual. Drop us a review on iTunes if you guys are up for it. Check out the link in our Instagram, _Modern Craftsman. There's a Survey Monkey. You can help shape this podcast, but based on what we're hearing, you guys like what you hear.
Yeah. Also, if you guys listen to this on like, what are the other options?
Stitcher.
iHeartRadio,
Jinx.
What's the big one? What did Rogan disclose?
Spotify.
Spotify. If you listen to it on those platforms, feel free to leave a review there. Doesn't always have to be on iTunes.
Okay.
They're just. But yeah, no, the surveys is good. We have 17, big week. 17 people responded.
That's awesome.
2 hours is now taking the lead
All right.
for duration of
we're right there.
podcast. 2 hours, 10 people voted for 2, 6 for 3, and 1 hour is 1. Keep it organic, and then one person said, one person said, it's literally 6%. More of the guest background in the beginning, which I think we did a little bit of that tonight
Yeah.
with Gary. Besides that, mini-series people, we have 7 people saying that they dove into it deep. They want to have same guest with multiple topics, or one topic with multiple guests, which is great.
Okay.
So, honestly, this feedback is honestly priceless because there's a lot of writing and responses, and people are totally digging into it.
Hey, I'm not going to say who it is, but I got a lead on someone pretty big.
Dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Got a
reached out-
contact.
I
Can't
reached
tell
out-
you who it is. 'cause
I reached
then
out to
I'm gonna
Ty
jinx
Pennington.
myself. This guy's bigger and
I
taller.
don't think.
Bigger than who?
I don't know who Ty Pennington
I reached out
is.
to Ty Pennington. He was the guy from Trading Spaces. He was
yeah,
the
yeah.
carpenter.
Oh. All right, that's pretty cool. All right, guys, you know where to find us. We'll see you next week. And as we roll out of here, remember this podcast is sponsored by Duration Millwork. Stocked in 6 different architecturally correct profiles from heavy shadow lines, Duration bevel siding is one of the real game changers, not only because it's indistinguishable from Western red cedar when it's finished, but because its 16-foot length, finger joint-free material results in fewer vertical joints, and unlike real wood composite, and fiber cement sidings, Duration bevel siding doesn't require back or edge priming of cuts, greatly reducing installation labor. No need for gapping and no clearance requirements from grade, patios, or even roofing materials further speed installation time, and all from an environmentally friendly, highly recyclable, high recycled content building material. Duration beveled siding checks all the boxes. To learn more about Duration poly ash products, please visit their website at durationmillwork.com.